Are you ready for combat night?
How's everybody doing today? I have had a very long weekend, but I'm very happy to be in studio with a Combat Night OG, a man who's had plenty of fights with us. He's going to be fighting again on November 8th, and that man is Lucas LaRue.
What's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Nice and well rested. How was your long drive?
It was good. It was good. My day started at 7:30, and I rolled up here at 9 o'clock, right on time. Actually, I was a minute early, to be exact. And that's why we're running a little late, because I strolled in here at 9. We had to get some things set up. Ramsey and Raina, thankfully, we're here probably an hour and a half before, so they get all the technical stuff going. But how are you feeling for your upcoming fight, man? I'm excited to have you back in there with us.
I'm stoked, man. I'm really excited to get another shot going back in there. I'm glad I got to turn around pretty quickly, because I know like that was something that we had talked about a lot even before the fight, that I wanted to try to get some momentum going and carry a few fights in. And thankfully this card like kind of lined up perfectly to be able to do that before the holidays and stuff. So I'm stoked. I think I really took a lot of time to iron out some of the stuff that I couldn't really do because of my knee injury for the last camp. So I think there's a lot, I feel like physically so much more like put together, just because that whole last camp, I was pretty much just going through rehab and then jumping right into camp as soon as I got cleared, like once I could train. So this feels like I'm far enough removed from the surgery where it's feels like 100% again, which is
okay.
cool.
Nice. Yeah, I want to get into all that, man. Surgery, your last fight. Before we do that, kind of let us know, man. I know that you're from the Pennsylvania area, and you're down here in Florida. How did that happen? What led you into MMA, and kind of give us your backstory.
Yeah, totally. So I am from Northeast Pennsylvania originally, around like Scranton, PA. I always kind of watched the sport growing up, but I never really had the outlet for it because it was such a small area. My high school didn't really have a wrestling team, but I always really was interested into it. And I played sports in high school and a little bit into college. I was a volleyball player, so I played like all the way through high school and then a little bit into college. And once that ended, I kind of wanted a competitive thing to like put my energy into, and that ended up being like I went to this place called Scranton MMA, and it's like the gym that I started at. It's actually, I think Brian Stan was originally from there. He's the only other MMA fighter that I know from Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's very, very small town. So started in 2017, 2016, I think 2016. Yeah, I started like right towards the end of there, and then trained up there for 5 years. Had 4 amateur Muay Thai fights. I was 4-0 in Muay Thai, and then 1 MMA fight while I was still up there. And then from there moved down to Florida about 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years on the 1st of January. So
okay.
Yeah,
I was unaware that you had the 4 Muay Thai fights. How did those go? Were you 4-0 or 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
4-0. I won a AMI belt for USKA, and they run out of like Allentown and Philadelphia mostly. But yeah, that was I started doing Muay Thai. I started both at the same time, but I did like striking matches and then had 1 MMA fight back there. Lost that one, and then every other MMA fight has just been for combat night. In the Leo Code one, I was supposed to go for, but it fell apart.
Okay. Man, yeah, I know that the Muay Thai in the Northeast is actually it's really good. So to go 4-0 up there in Muay Thai, I mean, obviously, you have a very well-rounded game. But I would say, if I had to say, you're a striker. So that's really cool. I had no idea you went 4-0 up there. That's impressive, honestly. Northeast is probably, I would say, for America, Northeast is maybe even the mecca of Muay Thai here.
Yeah, it was like a perfect area for it too. Like they always had a lot of fight. They were putting a lot of fights on for like them being, and it was the same day fight. So I was fighting at like 10 pounds up, like around 180. But they were doing same day fights. So that was like an experience to have to weigh in and fight the same day. But they were pretty solid within like that area. I fought in Philly at it's like the 2300 arena, which is a pretty decent, that was my first like full contact competition, was in this like relatively big kind of arena in Philly. So I got like a decent experience like right off the bat of like being in front of a decently sized crowd, and won that one by decision. Second one was a KO, and my third fight he got disqualified because his cup like kept falling out of his shorts because he forgot to bring a cup. Like I'm sure you've experienced the promoter aspects of that, but he like literally forgot to bring a jock strap, so he was just inserting the cup like into his shorts, and it fell out enough times to where he got DQ'd. And then I rematched him for the title and beat him. That was my like Muay Thai experience pretty much.
Yeah, you know, it never ceases to amaze me how unprepared someone can be to go fight for their life.
Yeah, it blows my mind, honestly. But it's kind of like a superpower, though, to some extent. I feel like some people are just like, whatever. Like, I almost I've had that conversation like recently where like some people like the thought doesn't cross their mind, so they're just like going in with no inhibition, like throwing inhibition to the wind. And it's like for some people, it's probably better, you know, just to not overthink and overanalyze about everything.
For sure. I mean, you know, there's guys like locally here, like Mike Perry and Alex Nicholson, that went on like a crazy tears. They fought like 7 or 8 times as pros in 2-year period and got to the UFC that way. And everyone, I remember locally, it might have been before your time, but people were like, Mike Perry, Alex Nicholson, they're the guys. And it's like, yeah, they're the guys. They're the savages. They're the ones that don't care. They're walking into any fight, every fight, with the mentality of I'm the baddest man in the world. And, you know, to have that mentality is, I think, probably the most important thing in the sport, is to be able to lock in and not care.
Yeah, because you can build so much momentum when you're stacking fights that way. But if you're thinking like, I got to get a perfect 10-week camp and I've got to make this happen, because even younger, like growing up, like when I was a lot younger competing as an amateur, you just feel like, oh, I have like time. I want to get a full camp and I want to work on my camp and how I would like it to be structured. But it seems like a lot of these guys, like even I think about RDR, who just had a fight, like his 5th fight of this year. And it's just like, he's cutting weight every time for that too. So like, to have that momentum, he's already built up so much like positive, like banking so much positive, even with like the way he lost. But when you fight that consistently, you're always like in the favors of like people who are promoting, because they want a guy who's going to show up every time. They know they're going to put on a show, and that's almost more coveted now than like trying to pad or make sure that you're fighting the right people, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's we'll talk about RDR real quick. You know, I think he might have been a little bit too much. Like maybe you did too much this year.
Yeah.
Because he did not look like himself in the fight. And, you know, like you said, cutting weight that many times in a year, that's got to be difficult and hard on the body. And, but at the same time, you know, a lot of people are really upset that he went out the way he did. And as, you know, the position I'm in, I've kind of played all the roles and I've seen all the roles, but in my head, I've always thought to myself, like, you know, what do you do if you know you've gotten your ass beat for however many rounds? You don't feel like you can do anything against the guy. Do you go back in there for one more round of taking a beating?
Right. Yeah. Like, what is the actual difference of that? It's going to go down as like a dominant loss in either direction. So,
yeah.
And the crazy part is that like that was originally supposed to be Fluffy Hernandez, and that dude has like the craziest cardio gas tank that I've like ever seen. And he did like that to Brennan Allen, what Brennan Allen did to RDR. So you just can only imagine like what that looks like if that fight doesn't fall out. But yeah, I think he definitely like pushed to that point, but he knew like if he got that fight, he was getting the title shot. So like when they put that in front of you and they say, this is probably your last one before the shot, like you're going to take it.
Oh yeah.
If it's on that type of notice. And he knew there's already somebody in line. So you want to fight with like relatively within that time frame, so it doesn't look like, you know, you've been sitting out for 9 months waiting for the title. You know, it looks better on for his resume, but it definitely, he's also huge. Like he's giant. He fought up at heavyweight. Like he's a giant dude. Yeah, I can't believe how big he was fighting even in his last fight, and with like Robert Whitaker, like he like dwarfed him pretty much. Yeah.
No, he did. So I imagine the weight cuts are pretty rough too, man. But yeah, back to the original thing. We were talking about your fight career, what you've done so far. What brought you to Florida?
Yeah, so really it was right around the COVID, like the shutdown, and they weren't doing any live events still in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was one of like the slower states at like getting things figured out. And I had already been kind of thinking in my head I wanted to leave my hometown, because it's a very, very small town. It's like Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania. I grew up with, I think I had 60 kids in my graduating class. And so not very much expansion when it came, especially in like the fight world. It's more of like a manufacturing and, you know, raw materials place, and the natural gas pipeline is big there. But other than that, that's pretty much all you do when you live there. So I needed to break out of that. I knew to like get reach like a higher ceiling when it came to fighting, and I knew I wanted to do it and take it to like the highest level that I could. So one of my good friends, he was already living down here, and he had a room open up with 6 months left on his lease. And he was like, if you want it, you can come down here for 6 months. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. And I like packed everything into my car and drove it down here. And that was 5 years ago, pretty much. He was the only person I knew when I first moved here. So kind of just like started there and made it happen over the last 5 years now.
Okay. Now, did he train, or is nothing?
No, he knew that I trained. He knew I wanted to bust out, like, because he had lived in the same small town area, so he had already kind of made it out and broke free from like the like big fish, small pond type of mindset. Cause it is like, you kind of get stuck in this other world. Like it's like the small town. It just, the only thing that matters is what revolves around in that like little culture. And it kind of just felt like it was keeping me kind of boxed in. So he knew that I had those thoughts, and he kind of was like, okay, this is a good opportunity for you to get your shot at coming down here. And then I just took it, and I loved Orlando. Like as soon as I got down here, I originally was already into like EDM music and like the fight scene, and down here there's like a mecca for both of those things. And so I had just started pursuing both of them, found my gym, and like started training from there. And then got the first fight at, it was still at Guilt. I think it was my first combat night fight, and that was now like 4 or 5 years ago. 4 years ago. Yeah.
Now you fought at Guilt. Who was the first guy you fought at Guilt? I know you fought
Chase Dye.
Chase Dye.
He was
Okay.
an ATT dude.
Yeah, I'm familiar
Wrestler.
with the name.
Yeah.
You also you fought Cody Moans? Was that at?
That was pro debut in Tampa.
Plant City. So you fought at a couple of our different venues at this point, then.
So Guilt, Caribe Royale, the Tampa one, and
Kissimmee.
The Kissimmee one. Yeah.
Okay. That's we have like 8 or 9 different venues. You're going to be your first time in Jacksonville soon.
Yeah. I've been there to corner, and I've been there in like in the arena itself, but that'll be my first time fighting there. Yeah.
Okay.
For Miles' fight.
What brought you to the jungle? You're one of the Jungle MMA's coaches as well, I believe, or you were. I know.
Yeah, I was. I still help with like the fight team and stuff like that. I just no longer like officially work there, but I still am like a part of the team, and I'm there like doing my camp pretty much full time there.
Okay.
But it was moving down there. There was a couple of options from like the area that I moved to, and I moved to like right in downtown across from Lake Eola. So I think it's like, it used to be called the Modern, but it's called something else over there now. But it was right down the street from the jungle. It's like on Colonial almost. So it made sense to do that. And I was also working in out like by the villages almost. So I was driving like an hour every day. So I had to make it to where like it was a close proximity from my house to get home, because I was getting home at 6 o'clock and then having to rush right to the gym. So I went there, started, and I pretty much like signed up immediately, knowing that I was going to be like pursuing it as a career at that time. And also as a fan, like you just hear names and they start to ring with you. And I had heard of Felicia. I knew Felicia Spencer when I had moved down there. So I was like, oh, cool. He can coach somebody in a world title fight, so he can probably coach me. So that was kind of like my initial thought at first. And then we bonded and had a good solid connection. So it's been good since then.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm always curious when people, number one, I think it's a big deal. Anyone that leaves their hometown. I don't remember the exact stat, but it was talking about like how many people leave their home state. And it's like a crazy number of people who never even leave their home state. How many people actually travel the country or the world, like leave America? And it's a very small number of people. Like how many Americans have passports to even leave if they want to? So I'm like you, I had a graduating class of 90.
Yeah.
And big fish, small town, everyone knows you. I could go into Subway. I had a buddy that worked there. I had a buddy who worked everywhere, and I could get stuff for cheap or free.
It's comfortable. You got connections to everybody. There's always like, you're never too far removed from somebody that's familiar to you. And it's, you get that comfort. And I see why people, fall into that like ideal, but it always was like, I feel like there's more, and I want to see what else is out there, and I think a lot of people from those small towns, it's safer and it feels better and more comfortable. And they like, plant roots and they establish these things. Cause like I didn't leave the country until I moved down here, because my now fiance we're big into travel, and now I've been everywhere. I've been to like 10 different countries. But before that, our big vacation at the end of the year was like to the Jersey Shore from Northeast Pennsylvania, which is like 2 hours. And that was my beach. That's like the only thing I knew of vacations up until moving down here.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a huge deal. So many people get stuck in being comfortable and expect comfort and want comfort. And it's like, I know there's a quote out there, like comfort's the enemy of growth or something along those lines. And it couldn't be truer, especially whenever it comes to like opportunities, because in a hometown, and I think it's everyone's hometown. It doesn't matter even if your hometown's a big city like Orlando, you just limited yourself, your networking abilities and the opportunity you're going to get by staying in that small little, circle of people. So it's awesome that you've actually branched out and took the risk to leave your hometown and start. I mean, really, you're starting all over. Like you said, you knew one person.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you don't like have those expansive jumps, you just like atrophy as a person, like your, you know, ability to be social. And like, I think that's what happens to a lot of people, especially where I'm from, because it's very like farm, like broad fields, cows, farms, corn everywhere. So it's easy to have a day where you don't see anybody you don't know. Like you don't see strangers, you don't see people. And like the other backwoods part of that is like, you don't see people of different cultures or that look differently than you. And that was always like an obvious thing that I was like, I just don't vibe with this old timey, like we're just going to stay in our like tucked away, like hobbits in our little hole and not like expand out or like be more, you know, accepting of other people. And it's just very like old school. And that was another reason that I wanted to expand. And then I come to Orlando, which is like one of the most culturally and like I don't know, ethnically diverse places that you could probably move to, I would assume.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty crazy. Just in the downtown area, you can like drive a 5-mile radius and you're going to have like, you know, the China or not China, I guess it's the Asian area of like a town that's like right there. Then you have the Milk District. Then you have the downtown area itself. I mean, every little area is like its own little separate section of just, like you said, different cultures, different, a lot of diverse people you're going to meet in a very quick.
Yeah, exactly. And just the food is just fantastic.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing about living in Orlando is the variety of food. Like you can get good Cuban in the morning and you can get good Chinese or Thai, you know, whatever you want, you're going to find good food here. If you can't find good food in Orlando, then you probably don't have good taste.
Yeah, it's like there's so much competition that if you don't have good food, you're just not going to make it here. You know, you have to have good food. And it's just funny because like where I'm from, you literally can't Uber Eats anything. There is no such thing. They don't exist. You can't get an Uber to take you somewhere. Like they're not coming out there. It's too far away from anything. So when I came down here, it was just like to have everything within, you know, and I've lived now downtown more than not. I've lived in regular downtown. Now I'm in Soto, but it's the same thing. It's like 10 minutes from anything. And the convenience of it has definitely changed me. I used to be like a 30-minute drive to get anywhere. And now I'm like anything more than 20 minutes. I'm like, this is a far drive. I just completely flipped on its head. So it's funny.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Whenever you came to Orlando, you said you had a job. What were you doing in the villages? Because now you're a full-time like trainer, privates, that kind of thing. What were you doing when you first got here?
I was doing personal training. I had accepted a job at like an Anytime Fitness that was pretty close to the villages. So it when I got there, it was packed with people. It was like really working out. And I had applied from Pennsylvania because I was originally doing like some personal training. I really did it to just learn how to exercise more like specifically for fighting pretty much. So I kind of used them to build it up, but they offered me a full-time position. So I had like work already ready when I moved down here. I didn't have to like try to figure out a job, but it was really far away. So I knew at some point it probably wasn't going to be a long-term solution and they really wanted to keep me there because all of my clientele was pretty much people from the villages. So it was a lot of clients and like their, you know, the working with like that population was actually really, really cool because you get to like, I don't know, if you work with a 25-year-old kid, like you're helping them get jacked or like, you know, you're giving them the proper like forms of stuff, but you might not be helping their day to day. With like older people, you can literally see like, oh, what I'm giving them is helping them balance better so that they don't like fall down some stairs or something, you know, because that's such like a high risk thing for aging adults. So that kind of got my brain firing on like helping out like the older senior population. But that was like the first job that I originally had. And then from there, after I had to leave, I started going into pretty much your basic like random run of the mill jobs at like Gators Dockside. I cleaned windows, like stuff that I could manage my fight schedule around because it wasn't like necessarily about, you know, getting a career started. It was like, how can I make sure I'm training full time and then paying my bills for the first couple of years around? Because living with a few roommates, the rent wasn't too crazy and I could manage it a lot easier.
Yeah, man, I think that's probably a big mistake I see a lot of guys make, young guys make, and they almost always come full circle, like, but they always do it too late. You know, they want to make a bunch of money first, and it's like, if you want to be an MMA fighter, successful one, you got to put money on the back burner because, like you said, you have to find jobs that work around the schedule to fight, and most gyms are having morning classes and night classes, and you know, if you're working 8 to 12 hours in a day and then have to go train. Like, where's the recovery happening at? Maybe you're pulling it off, but you know, maybe you're not getting enough sleep. You know, a lot of guys jump into like bouncing or security jobs, and they're at bars till 2 or 3 in the morning, and it's like, bro, that's not a good spot to be. I understand it works for your schedule, but it's like you got to find kind of a good balance of like something that works with your schedule for fighting. It's going to make you enough money to survive, not like thrive. And then the environment needs to be something that's also conducive to what you're trying to do, because I think environment is a huge part that a lot of guys miss out on. So that's probably why you are where you are right now, is because you didn't prioritize money first.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I think the biggest thing, especially in that stage where I started not like crazy late, but still late today. In today's day, I think it would be considered late, but 10 years, like 5-6 years ago, I started at 20. So I knew like, if I'm going to do this, I need to be able to take in the most amount of info in this short, especially in the early years where like, I'm not necessarily fighting a lot, but I just need to be a sponge and, you know, take in as much as I can. So originally, even back in Pennsylvania, what I did was work in the natural gas industry. So I was like a union pipeliner, and I would just work that, making really good money. And then whenever the jobs were done, I just went and trained. And then when they called me back, I would go back out and do it again. But that just pretty much made me enough money so that I could pay for a whole year of training for free. And then I just was like, okay, now I can transfer over to start just focusing on training. But it was always, every job I had, the only reason I did it was so it could help fighting. Like it was always to lead to something else. I worked in like a scrapyard in Daytona because the dude was super cool and he would let me like work when I needed to, and not like, it wasn't as like you have to be here at 8 and you have to leave at 5. And you meet people that like understand your story. Like most people, if you get good connections down here, they want to help out people who are trying to do something like, you know, bigger than themselves. So if you can like find an employer that's going to be cool enough to let you kind of help, they know that this isn't your actual career. And those were the kind of people that I was lucky enough to be around, where they kind of were like, we know you're not here to work at a scrapyard. You're obviously doing this for something else. So
yeah, it's also like you were just saying, it's important to find those people, because there's so many people. I remember I got a job at Taco Bell. I had a job for one day at Taco Bell, guys. And the first day of the meeting, the guy was talking about how he never thought this was going to be his career. And, you know, you too can make a career out of this. I'm making $70,000 a year, you know, this and that on this. Oh, bro, I was sitting there and I was like,
I need to leave.
We took a break and I was like, I ain't going back. I just didn't finish the trainings. I was like, I'm not doing that. Like,
I can't be around you.
Exactly.
I can't do that. You're going to make me like, yeah, that's 100% true. You're just like, I need to not be hearing that all the time. That's not the type of thing that's going to be conducive to what I want to do.
Yeah, we've had guys, I mean, promising guys, not just like, you know, just random whoever, but we had guys like, oh, you know, I can't get off in 4 weeks to take that fight. I'm like, bro, what job do you have that isn't going to let you off 4 weeks from now for 2 days? Like, what are you talking about right now? I'm like, if your job doesn't understand that your goals and your aspirations, number one, maybe you didn't communicate that one effectively in the right way. But number two, find a new job.
Yeah. Like,
don't waste your time here anymore. I see a lot of guys making that mistake of, and that's the worst part, is like, sometimes it's not even a really good job. It's like they're a waiter. I mean, I'm not saying and not knocking you if you're a waiter, but like, if you're going to do something because of the freedom of time, then make sure you have the freedom of time.
Yeah. Don't be like required if you're going to do that, just be like forthcoming about it. And most of the time, don't be the guy who says you're going to be like, I'm there every day. I'm going to be grinding for you. And then don't actually put the work in. Because for me, it was always like, I have one gear if I'm working for you. Like if I'm telling you that, I'm going to work hard no matter what. So if you give me the freedom to, you know, one day, if I have like maybe I got hurt the day before, I got a stinger, I can't like train today, I can't work today, I got to just like chill, and they'll be okay with it. Like you kind of develop that through being a good worker, like just busting your ass for people. And they usually are like more like willing to just let you do what you need to do. Yeah.
I mean, man, if you look at pretty much everyone that works for Combat Night, it's mostly the Jungle and Fusion Excel. I had somebody, you'd be surprised at how often we get flack for that. Like, oh, just the Jungle and Fusion work for you guys. Like, y'all are biased. And it's like,
anything to make a conflict.
Whatever makes you think that your lack of training or lack of dedication isn't the reason why you lost. And it's just because of, you know, we work with the Jungle or we work with Fusion. But yeah, we get that a lot about those two places specifically. But, you know, I want to work with guys that their dream is MMA, their passion is MMA. Whether it was they retired from fighting or they're still actively wanting to fight. You know, we've had guys like Val Woodburn do security for us. Like, I would rather pay a fighter to come out and watch fights and hang out and, you know, do security for us and make some money than someone who doesn't care about the sport. They're just there because they're making money. You know, and the same thing goes if I was running any business, I want people who have dreams and aspirations and that are chasing greatness, because like you said, whatever you do, you're going to do it 100%. You're going to be a hard worker whenever you're on the clock or whenever you're working for somebody, whether it's training the 80-year-old man or the 25-year-old kid, you're giving them 100% of Lucas LaRue. And that's why I want those kind of guys working for us, because I just know that's why Miles, you know, when we didn't have an announcer and we were looking for a new person to kind of step in. I think Miles was he had a press conference with Val. And I was like, man, Miles speaks really well. Like he's good on the mic. So I don't know if he even knows that. Ramsey, was that kind of the initial?
He jumped on some commentary.
Yeah, and we've
I
had
remember
a couple.
that. I remember that at Gilt. I remember him
Yeah.
jumping into like the middle early on and being one of the first people to like just run up there and just grab it and be like, I'm gonna sit here and interview and start talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, his improvement has been awesome.
Yeah, it's
Like,
been
he's
awesome to
gotten
watch him.
so much better from like start to finish. It's been cool to see that progression for him.
Yeah. I remember one of the early on events. Man, I forget whose fight it was, but it was someone from the jungle. And you know, Miles was still working out. He wasn't real confident enough to really get on the mic and like every time, like, oh, kill it.
Go for it.
And I might have been Jeremy Williams. It might have been Jeremy versus Latrell. Was he the announcer for that fight?
I think so. That might have been one of his first full.
Yeah, I think it was that fight. Regardless, he leaned into the jungles guy. And I was like, who is this guy? Whoa. Like,
Where'd
okay.
where'd this come from?
He's got something here. And he got out of the cage. And I was like, man, listen, what you just did for him, I need you to do for everybody. And I was like, especially his opponent.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. If you do it for, you know, the guy that you know, and I get it, like that kind of, I think it woke something up inside of him. Like, you know, he knows this guy, he's trained with this guy, he's friends with this guy.
Right.
I want to give him my best right now. And I was like, yo, every fight you announce, go into it like they're your friend, like they're your buddy, like, you know, the work they put in, because all these guys, whether you got to see it or not, they put in that same amount of work.
100%.
And it's just been awesome. Like you said, it's been awesome. Just like watching fighters grow, watching people who work with us grow as well. You know, Matt Grafer was a announcer for us initially, and he's now with Savannah Bananas. I like to see anyone graduate like from us, like whether it's going to the UFC to fight, or it's going to Savannah Bananas to be an announcer, or it's, you know, if you're a commentator and you get a good gig being a commentator, whatever it is. Like, I love watching guys grow and leave us. Now, Miles, you better never leave us, because we put a lot of effort and work. But also with that, you know, it's cool to be a part of those growing pains with the guys and watch them grow and want to grow. Speaking of growth and all these things that I'm talking about right now, I've got to watch you from a very early stage kind of grow through it as well. And it's been awesome. You know, I always see guys, I feel like when they get to like 24 to 27, they kind of turn into a man.
Yeah.
Like they fill out. And that's the case for you as well. You were kind of a beanpole when you first started fighting for us.
100%.
And I've watched you fill out and become a man. And specifically your last fight, I was like, man, Lucas, his physique is definitely different here. What has that been like for you, growing over these years? And what do you think is like your biggest, because some guys, don't grow at all. I watched them 3 or 4 years. They're still making the same mistakes in the cage. Their physique looks the same. They're missing weight, or, you know, having the same issues, struggling with their weight cuts. What have you found success in that has helped you grow so much? And like, what would you attribute that to?
I think it's a lot of it is like my process after fights, like regardless of outcome of them, just always being like a student and looking back at my tape and being like, all right, what about this doesn't look at the professional level, at the elite level? So like, for instance, my last amateur loss was for CFFC actually. But in that fight, I had a really bad weight cut, and I didn't really rehydrate properly, and I did not take that part like as seriously or professionally. And that was after the Chase Dye fight. So that was my third MMA fight. And after that, I just realized like, okay, I can't go in there with that much of a, you know, like lack of ability to actually put my skill to work out there. So I had to go and find like a nutritionist and start working with someone. So that was a big leveling up aspect for me, was starting to work with a nutritionist, getting like the proper amount of calories, and then cutting weight like the proper way. And since then I've made weight really, really easily, and it's only kind of gotten better for me. So that definitely made a huge difference. And then, you know, the I've always had I felt like my striking has always been the thing that is kind of the foundation for me as a fighter. It's like something that came the most naturally to me. I don't think that wrestling and grappling specifically did, because I never wrestled as a kid. But once in that same fight, I felt like I was doing so well in the striking to where I was in full control. And then in the last 2 rounds, I was pretty much like taken down and then controlled, and was kind of just stuck with, okay, well, now we have to fix that. We've got to get better on the cage. We've got to get better on the ground and just dive into the grappling aspect of it. So that made a huge turnover to where my focus kind of shifted to that for a few years. And then I felt like once I rounded that out and feel like I'm a really hard person to take down, and I can maintain like a decision of where the fight is taking place, that I was kind of getting to that point where I knew I could actually get to being a pro. Because as an amateur, I feel like your first few fights, they just kind of happen to you. Like you have no real say in it. It just like blinks and you're like, okay, it's done. I won or lost or whatever. It wasn't until like really my last AMI fight with Lewis Glover, that was the first time I was in there feeling like, okay, I'm in control of this. Like I can dictate things and how it goes, as opposed to just like going in there and fighting. So once I had that fight, it kind of gave me the confirmation of like, okay, I think I'm ready to take it to the professional level, because I've been just building on this and working at it for pretty much since I turned 20 and started training. It's been the main focus. Everything else has been like building up to make that leap to being a pro. So I knew once I was able to see myself like on tape, okay, that looks like a professional level fighter, because I watch the game so much. Like I can tell when I'm watching a regional fighter, if I'm watching a high level pro, I'm like, I want to make sure that when I'm out there, I'm as composed as somebody that's at that level.
Yeah, that's smart, man. That's great too. The thing that I'm not saying you're missing this, but I'm saying what a lot of guys miss is, I feel like a lot of guys have that transition period where they're going from the amateur to the pro, and they're making sure that they're doing everything right. I can actually, like, I can see it in my head now, like after your CFFC fight, for instance, Lewis Glover, he's a grappler. He's a big dude. He's a guy that's going to like want to hold you on the cage, take you down, and just try to smother you the whole time. So that's a great fight to come and test yourself and say, hey, have I fixed these holes that I had in my fight before? And you passed it with flying colors. You look great in the Lewis Glover fight. And then speaking of cage work, in the Cody Moans fight, I mean, you had him pinned against the cage and finished. Not often you see a guy able to gift wrap somebody, maybe it's a Dagestani handcuff, maybe, and finish him, against the cage like you did. It was a savage finish. So that's really dope, because I didn't realize that I never watched the CFFC fight. I knew you had lost it, and I wasn't aware of how it happened or where it happened. But it's even cooler now to know that, and that kind of puts you in your mind like, no, I got to change this.
And I rattled off 5 in a row after that, so and didn't lose like a second of any of them. So it was that transition, and then also fighting a guy that was at the time, I think he was 2-2, but he's now 5-0 as a pro. And I knew at the time that he was a really high level grappler, because he trains out of Philly with like the Marquez guys, with like Sean Brady and
Marquez and
yeah, exactly. So I knew that he was going to be a monster grappler, and to be in there and feel like, okay, I'm not like at a point where I'm helpless, but I'm just not able to like enact my game. And it gave me a little bit more comfort of like, okay, this is going the full distance, but I'm with a high level guy, and still being like, okay, there's more time in like competition. Because I think the more that you build that, the more comfortable you can be in there. So when you're going in and just blasting people in 30 seconds, sometimes it doesn't give you as much like comfort of like the cage time that you get from it. So.
Yeah, no, and I think it's important too, man. As an amateur, you should be looking for that type of adversity. You should be looking for that guy, like you said. Even though he was 2-2, you knew he was good. You knew the camp he came from was reputable. Marquez MMA, is that close to where you live, or is that nowhere near? Because it's
like 2 hours north. So that's southeast, and I'm northeast. But that's where I would go down there to cross train a lot. I would go down, and there was a couple of different guys in the UFC at the time from Philly that I was kind of going down and cross training with a little bit. And so I was always kind of back and forth from there, but I didn't get to train specifically with those guys. But it was always like a friend of friends. I was always able to go down there and train with some of the guys in Philly, because there's some monster grapplers from Pennsylvania, so they're beast up there. Yeah,
we just had Pennsylvania is really well known for their wrestling. Danny O'Neill, one of my I love Danny. He's a Danny boy. He's a good friend of mine. He just moved back to Pennsylvania, so he moved down here from Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him or not. He's fought John Morea. He's got like the worst luck ever. I think he's had like 3 or 4 title fights, all lost by split decision.
Oh my God.
Like literally, I mean, and they're wars. He honestly, when I know he'll be really prepared when he's a pro because he has not shied away from anybody, and he's been dominant in every fight at some point in time. And it's like the littlest things that he's losing, but he just went to Marquez MMA and he was real excited. And he actually was saying that it was the grappling when he went to visit. He was like, okay, I got a good place to come back and kind of get back to my roots. And he kind of strayed away from it. I think everybody, no matter what your background is, when you start punching people in the face, it feels really good.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And I've seen some of the best wrestlers in the game stop wrestling because they get knockouts.
Now they had 6 months of boxing and now they're like, everything feels, it is so funny because sometimes you're seeing people crack mitts, and like if you're looking at certain like balance points or like how it looks so good, but then you're like, how does that look if somebody's faint? Like the same way for their wrestling, it plays in both directions, but in order to like really set in, like whenever like wrestlers start to get in love with their striking, I'm just like, it's the same thing with your discipline too. Like it would be like me just trying to run in there in 6 months of wrestling and try to take down Bo Nickel, and like, it's just, not gonna work as well. And they're, they have the ability to end it, with a strike or, finish somebody.
Yeah. I'm definitely blind, so I'll need to hear that in the mic. But Iceland. So we went on a trip to Iceland. You said earlier 10 countries you've been to. I wanted to touch base on that too. What's your favorite of the countries you've been to?
That's tough. The experiences are like kind of dependent on, but I feel like Italy was the best like full trip that we did because I had my fiance and then 2 of our couple friends, so it was like 3 sets of couples, and we got Airbnbs and went to the Amalfi Coast and then went up through Tuscany and then finished in Florence. And that trip, just like the food, the service, the way like the people of Italy was like by far, I think my favorite, the one where I'm like, I could 100% go and live there. But in terms of like scenic, it's Iceland with a bullet. Like you go there and your mouth is like wide open. You're just like, I don't know what any of this is. It looks like it's a different planet. And that was really cool too. And then that same trip we went to Norway and went to Oslo and Bergen, and they were really, really cool too. We got to go in like the fjords and go take the train ride all the way through from Oslo to Bergen, and it's where they filmed like a bunch of Star Wars, like the Hoth scenes and all that stuff. So that was all really cool too. But yeah, the Iceland trip, I think scenically was the coolest thing I've seen.
That's dope. Yeah, we just I know you knew because you went right after us and we stuck Combat Night stickers on everything.
So cool. I freaked out. I was thinking about it like the whole time I was there, but I'm like, realistically, how big of a place could this be? And then when I got there, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna see it. Like there's not very much there that I'm gonna miss. And then it stuck out like a sore thumb, and I was like so stoked that we got it. I got 2 different ones, I think too.
Yeah.
So.
And you came I was like within a month after us going, so it was that no one had put a sticker over it or taking them down yet. It's funny you said Italy too. I've been to Italy. I did Rome, Florence. We randomly went to Sicily. Like while we were there, we didn't really have any. We just flew into Rome. Actually, we flew into Greece, and we knew we were flying out of Spain. But like we just kind of piecemealed everything else together. And while we were in Rome, one of our friends was like from college hit us up and was like, "Yo, what are you doing in Italy right now?" And not yet. You haven't told me yet. And we were like, yeah, we're here. And he's like, I'm in Sicily. My whole family's in Sicily. You have to come to Sicily. And we didn't plan on going to Sicily. Florence is up there for me, but Sicily is like very, very cheap. Everything's very, very, very affordable. And the food everything in Italy was amazing, but the food in Sicily was just
different.
A little bit better.
It was awesome. Yeah, the food was so cool because having like 6 different people, and we all kind of agreed like we're passing every single plate. Like we don't know when the next time we're going to be in Italy eating this food. So we would just like pass. So you're getting to try like 30 different trays, like different types of food a night, because everybody's getting apps and everything. And I really thought price wise it wasn't really that crazy when I was over there for really solid food. And like the people there, like I feel like they want to be your friend when they're talking to you, but then they're just like, no, we don't give tips, so this is just how we are. Like there's no necessity for it because they're not like accepting tips, but they're also just that nice just because like they were super helpful. And I never had like an off thing for like not knowing the language or anything like that. Whereas when I went to France, I loved France too. I love France too because I got engaged there and I enjoyed it. But those people were a little cold. They're a little cold to me. They weren't as like and especially because we tried to learn some French and be there and like try to do the thing, and
They
they're
don't
just
care.
like, no, yeah, you go like, comment allez-vous, and they're like, yeah, what would you like? And you're like, okay, I'm sorry. I tried.
Yeah, I would say that I went to Paris. I would say that's the bottom of my list of countries I will ever go back to. I got into a sculpt. You went to the Eiffel Tower, I'm guessing.
Hmm.
Is that where you proposed?
Next to it, yeah.
Okay. Were there a bunch of Somalian peddlers trying to sell stuff?
We were further enough away from it, but when we went there, yeah, they're everywhere. But the proposal part, I luckily was far enough away.
Yeah, I got into a fight with one of them.
Oh,
They
shit.
took off running with my money. I was trying to buy souvenirs, and apparently, I guess they're not supposed to be doing that. And there was like cops coming around, so I took off after him, and I hip tossed him. The guy I was with was like, "What are you doing?" Like freaking out, and then he ended up giving me all his money, so I ended up like making triple the money. I was like, oh, and I got my souvenirs. I go get in line to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and next thing you know, there's these like 2 or 3 giant Somalians. I'm like, and they're like, you rob my friend, and I was like, nah, your friend tried to rob me. And like we went back and forth, and they're like, he's a new guy, he was scared, please, like we need the money back. And I was like, all right, here you go. Like, I gave him back the money. I was like, I'm keeping the souvenirs, and I'm keeping my. He's like, whatever, that's fine. And they left.
I'm keeping this little miniature Eiffel Tower keychain.
Yeah.
I'm not getting this back.
It's mine.
This one's mine.
But yeah, I think we're gonna do Italy this year as a team. Like, I made a goal. I said I wanted to do it more than once, but maybe it's just gonna be once a year because with all the events, it's hard. But I think we're gonna do Italy this year coming up. So I have to pick your brain about.
Oh yeah, I got a full itinerary. Like the girls have like the full color coded outlined itinerary with the offline Google Maps with like they do their work when it comes to traveling. They definitely make it way more fun to throw up like an itinerary and figure it out. I definitely want to do more northern Italy next time because we did more like
Middle.
southern and all the way up through. The Positano was really, really cool too. I will say the only pushback I have for France, I think Paris sucks, but the other cities in France are not that bad. They Nice was really cool. That's like near Morocco. Is it Morocco? It's down like towards where the gambling city is. I can't remember the name of it, but it was really, really nice, like 75-degree weather, and it was like kind of like a little beach town.
Yeah.
And then we went to Champagne and did like a tour of like all the Champagne places in Champagne, and that was really cool too.
Yeah, I imagine that Paris is probably like New York.
Yeah.
It's like the major city that everyone wants to go to. They come to America, they're like, let me go to New York. And then you talk to New Yorkers, you're like, people in America are just assholes.
Yeah.
So I imagine Paris is the same way. I heard the same thing. Literally from the time we got there to the time we left, we were like, I mean, every day we found the reason to be like, oh, fuck Paris. Like,
yeah,
it never felt when we got it started with a taxi ride from the airport. We messed up and got in a taxi and noticed his little thing wasn't on. When we got to the hotel, he tried to charge us like 100 euros. And I was like, no. I was like, not a chance. And he's like, yeah, you must pay. And I was like, no, why wasn't the thing on?
yeah.
And he's like, 100 euros is the fee. And I go in,
Standard.
I asked the hotel guy, like, how much is a airport ride here? He's like, 30 to 50 euros. And I was like, I'll give you 30 euros.
Yeah, have a good day.
And he was like,
Yeah.
I'll call the cops. I was like, call them.
Yeah, like I'm sure your record is spotless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he was like, okay, 30 euros.
Yeah, 25, whatever.
Yeah.
Literally anything actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like a coldness to the service industry there that they're a little bit more like standoffish, but every other place outside of the United States I've been to has been like awesome in terms of I've never been to a place that I was like, I'm never coming back here. I've always loved it. We've been to Switzerland and Zurich and Lucerne. Those are like really cool cities. But my most like my favorite thing to do outside of training and fighting is to travel. Like if I could just do that as my profession, I would probably just do that. And my fiance loves it too. So every year we have something planned, and we've got we're gonna do our honeymoon in like the oceanic region. So we'll go to like Australia and New Zealand and Fiji and
Nice.
I want to see all the shit and do all the stuff. Like I want to see all the touristy stuff. I want to do it all. Like I hate the connotation of like the negative connotation of tourists where it's like, yeah, no, I want to go to the places that are famous for these really cool things, and I want to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, one day they're not going to be there.
Yeah,
like a lot of
exactly.
these things, they're just not going to be there. So I want to be able to say I saw these things before they disappear, or you never know with conflicts and the way countries be feuding.
Where we could even possibly travel that way.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's just so much cool shit to learn, and the how old like the old stuff, going to like Florence and like learning the history of it. Did you go to the Michelangelo museum when you were there? That dude was awesome.
Yeah.
That dude was on some stuff.
the not in Florence, but the Vatican to me
Mhm.
was like, I remember I was just like, I was blown away. And we went there at the end of the day, and they were like shutting down parts of the museum as we were like,
Oh, that's
and we were like, oh no. So like, we were sneaking under like little, like, I remember we came up to Nero's marble red tub. I don't know if did you check out?
I have a funny story about not going to the Vatican, but continue. I'll come back to it.
So we're like, there's this giant, we did it. We pay for the tours. Like
Mhm.
I just learned early on in traveling, spend the extra $40, get a guided tour. And we try to find like kids, not kids, but college students, people that are there that are like, they're learning, and they tell you so many little things that like maybe the local wouldn't tell you,
They
or
cut
whatever.
out the like some of the cheesier stuff.
Yeah.
Like the ones that we had were really cool about that. They're like, that's whatever. They're all gonna be there. Like, come to this. This is way cooler.
Yeah.
Those are the best types of ones that you get to. But yeah, the Vatican. We went to Rome. It was the last night. This is the trip where we got engaged. So we did Paris, Rome, Nice. I know Paris, Rome, Paris, Switzerland, Rome, Nice, and then back to Paris. We did like a little circle because
Mhm.
once you get out there, the flights are so cheap to
Yeah.
go international from there. So we were able to plan that whole thing out. But when we got to Rome, we went out, and it was the only night of the entire trip that we were like, let's go find a club and go see what it's like to go out in Rome for a night, at a club. And we got there at like 11 p.m. and there's nobody there. There was just us and like this other Irish couple that we met, and they were super cool. So we kind of started hanging out with them. But then by like 12:30, 1 o'clock, it was like shoulder to shoulder packed. And we had been like walking around a lot. You know how it's like impossible to get water in other countries? Like
Yes.
it's just not as accessible. So we were probably super dehydrated and maybe like, day drinking Aperol spritzes and going through. So whatever they gave us, it got us like so obliterated that like falling down almost. And we're in Rome and kind of know how to get around, but not really. So we like fall into a taxi cab, and he takes me home, and then I give him like some money, and he's like, that's not enough. So I'm like hammered, and he takes me to an ATM and is like, here we go. And I'm like, just to get this over with, I'll do what I had to give him like an extra 20 or 30 euros or whatever. And I woke up that next day with the most like brutal hangover that I've ever had. And I missed our Vatican tour because I couldn't. It was like literally, I thought somebody drugged me. It was so bad, dude. And I felt so bad for my fiance. She was like trying to cheer me up. She went to like McDonald's and started to get stuff to like cure it. And I was just like, I couldn't move. Anytime I moved, I just got sick. So yeah, the next time I go to Rome, I'll go check out the Vatican and see.
All right. She didn't go either. She just hung out. That's a good
she's
woman.
Trooper. Yeah, she stayed with me.
It's a good woman.
And then we tried to go towards the end of the night, and when I got on the bus, I was definitely getting sick on the public transit. And then we got there, and it was closed by the time we got there. So, but we had a fun time with pretty much every other part, and it's still funny because now we have the hilarious story of looking back on it. But yeah, that was the only time that we've ever had like a hiccup in like the traveling aspect.
It's funny you mentioned a club. We went when we were in Florence. It was the only night we went to a club. I was with my business partner, my late business partner, Josh the man, and man, I told everybody after that trip, I was like, I'll never travel with this guy again, ever again in my whole life. It was like when there was something that could go wrong or did go, it happened. And he had got drunk that night, and it was a crazy, how like mega clubs out there, and there's these crazy mega clubs, and he's drunk. We ended up getting thrown out. Well, when we get thrown out, somehow we got separated, and I didn't know, he didn't know either. We ended up both sleeping in the lobby of the hotel in different areas, not knowing that we were both in the lobby of the hotel, and we didn't have keys, and so we couldn't get to our. It was a mess, man. It was such a hot mess. And I remember I was so mad. I see him getting thrown out. I'm like, what's going on over there? So like I try to get over to it's packed. I'm trying to get to him. I just noticed he's a big dude, and they were big security guys, and they throw him out, and I'm trying to get to where he is, but they're like he's a big dude. They're like surrounding him, and I'm like, yo, and they're like, you need to leave. And I was like, okay. So like I'm watching from afar as he's like pointing at people, and I'm like, I don't know what he's saying, but they're not even letting me get close to like figure it out. And finally they have him, they tell him he can go, I guess, because I lost him. I was like, where is he? I don't know where he's at. So I wandered around this area of Florence for a little bit trying to find him. Never find him. Finally, I'm like, all right, I'm going home. And I'm like, shit, where is home? I remember going through my email trying to find I don't remember the name of this place.
What year is this?
2018. No, Why am I saying that? 2014, my bad.
Yeah, so I was
It
gonna
was
say different in terms of the like accessibility
of Wi-Fi
travel
and stuff too.
everything. Yeah,
It was it was
Ubers
2000.
and,
It was the year Kaden was born. It was right before Kaden was born. Everyone was making fun of me for going to Paris with another man while my wife was pregnant. I can't tell you how many comments I got of me. I did a video meeting at the Eiffel Tower and like, oh, that's really cute. When are you going to tell Brandy?
There's so many innuendos you couldn't.
Yeah.
From.
But it's looking back now, I wish like I would die to go to any trip with him. You know what I mean? But at the time, I remember I was like, man, this dude, and he's smart because he eats like 2 meals every time he eats. He's a big dude, and I eat 1 meal. And he was like, let's just trade back and forth. Who's I buy the meal, you buy the meal, I buy the meal, you buy the meal. Like 4 meals in, I'm like, yo, no, this isn't working.
A lot.
Yeah. Like I remember we went to a steakhouse in Florence. You might even know it. They had like pastrami's, I think, hanging from the ceiling. They were all over the place.
Ones, yeah.
And there was a steak, and they do it in grams.
Mm-hmm.
We know what grams are, bro. And it was like a 2-pound steak. And the guy's like, oh, that's a big steak. It's for 2 or 3 people. Like you don't want to. And he's like, yeah, I want that steak. And I'm looking at him like, bro, he just told you it's for like 2 or 3 people. He's like, yeah, I want the steak. And then the steak comes and it's just massive.
Yeah, they do not fuck around with Florentine steaks.
And he's like, I guess I should have ordered a smaller steak. I was like,
it was only 300 euros for this gigantic one. Yeah, that's best steak of my life is Florence steaks. That was the best one.
It was really cool. I liked roaming the streets down there. They had a leather market. I remember like we went to a leather market and like wandered around there. They had like a bunch of food halls out there too. I know we have them now in Orlando as well, but at the time I had never been to a place where you could walk into like one building and there's like 20 restaurants.
Yeah, like the food halls. There's in Europe, it's probably one of the cooler spots. Like now they're everywhere here, but their food halls are like a scene. There's like a social culture to it. Like when we were in Oslo, they had a really, really cool one that was similar. It was like food hall, but you can see so many, like it's like a pop-in social club at the same time. So it was really cool.
That would be, I loved Iceland. Like you said, the scenic or whatever, but for me, the food was like,
Yeah. It's not a place that I'm like, I'm dying to go back. It's cool. I'm so happy that I went and got to see that. And I think everybody should just because of how like beautiful it is. But like, I feel like I got it. Like I did all the stuff. When I went to Italy and came back, I was like, I'll go back tomorrow. There's still so much that we have to do that like didn't go to Milan or all the X or Y cities. So Iceland, it's like you either do the south route or you do the north route, and you kind of just. The only thing we didn't see is like the pangolins and the puffins and the like whale watching stuff.
My favorite animal.
That's amazing.
My new favorite animal.
Were you there during their season? Because we were like right outside of the season.
Nah, we didn't get it. We were out of it too.
Yeah, we were like right before they were supposed to come. And
we
didn't get to see any of them. My fiance was pissed. She was like, I wanted to see a fucking puffin. We didn't see whales or anything like that either.
Yeah, we ate a puffin.
You guys try whale?
I wanted to. I'm not gonna lie, but the sushi spot that had it was closed. Like I think we were wandering around. Like the final day, we were like, "All right, we got to do a bunch of."
Weird
I want to get. I want to get a tattoo. Eat puffin. We ate horse.
Did you do the shark?
He ate the shark.
It's the worst thing you ever tasted. Dude, you're crazy. That tastes like an old boot and cat piss. It's the worst. It was the worst. And they made us do it so many times because we did all these tours, and every tour is like, now we do the traditional thing. We're like, no, this is literally the 3rd time I've eaten this fermented shark. It sucks every time. And but the people there were so nice, and they're so like happy that you're there because you're just like providing all this for like the tourism and stuff. But yeah, no, fuck the shark forever. But it's definitely a spot that everybody should go check that out because they do like the stayovers. So like that's what we did. We were actually going to Oslo and Bergen, and our stayover was in Iceland. So like it's like the same price. So you literally get an extra place that you can go and stay for up to like 5 days for the same price.
Yeah, that's really cool. We did just the direct flight there and direct flight back, or not even direct, but we went there and came back. But I did, when we were like looking at tickets, we saw like the stayover thing.
Yeah, it's such a cool concept.
I wish we had more time because there was definitely like Norway's definitely a place I want to go check out.
Yeah, Oslo was so cool. We went to like the Monk Museum, saw like the Scream, and did a bunch of that. We always try to see like whatever the most famous art shit or like a history museum, because especially you go to places where, and that was the other part about Iceland that's kind of like, there's not a lot of history there because it's only been around for, so I did think it was funny when we went to the lava show, and they're like, there's been probably 4 different times that people have come and tried to conquer this land, and then like a volcano just wiped them out, and then they just came back and they're like, all right, we're good now. And like a hurricane hit. Like every time something would just destroy the civilizations in Iceland. That's why it's so like I think the oldest buildings are from like the late 1800s.
Mhm.
So but then you go to Italy and you're like, this was made 2000 years ago, and it's this most beautiful, articulate, perfectly symmetrical, and
Yeah.
you're just like, how did anybody do this? Like
Yep.
even right now with all of the technology and stuff, I could never recreate this, and they were doing it with like hand tools.
Yeah, the churches out there were just like
Yeah, it blows
ridiculous.
your mind. Yeah,
Even the streets, like the cobblestone streets they have. It's like, how this has been here for centuries. How is it still in such good shape?
yeah, thousands of years old. Meanwhile, like every apartment complex in Orlando has to get like completely redone every year because they suck at building.
Streets too, like they're always falling apart. It's
Yeah.
just like,
The only thing that remains is stuff that was like built so like well, because we went to the what is it, the Notre Dame that got
Mhm.
burned down, and like seeing like even like the structural integrity of that, and you're just like, they put so much effort and work, and there was no like,
yeah.
it was more of like a piece than it was like a building. It's like for something else, you know. But it was so cool.
You was talking about museums. Yeah, I like to visit museums as well. When we were in Iceland, they had a very interesting museum that Ramsey was, man, he couldn't shut up about it. Like from the time we landed and he found out that this thing existed to the time we left, it was just the phallic museum. And I was like, bro, you have one yourself. You can look at it anytime you want. What is it about wanting to go look at other men's?
The history of
Yeah. But I tell you, bro, we couldn't get him away from that building. But
I did see some what are they, TripAdvisor things for that.
Yeah.
Go and enjoy that. But yeah, did you guys do the lava show?
we did, and that was one of the things I
cool
did
as
want to
shit.
see.
It
I
was
also
hardcore. It's like wild when they pour it. You're like 30 feet away and you just feel like it's right there.
Oh, you can feel the heat.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we left. I think right after we left, it might have been maybe even like a day or two, the volcano erupted, and I was like, man, I wish we had like been. And now every time I see it, I'm like, God, that's something I wish I could have. I could go
Yeah.
see like live. You know, lava fields. They say it's like not safe or whatever.
Yeah,
But
the dude who ran the lava show was like, stupid people that come here, tourists, they'll like walk out and they think that they're walking on solid. They don't realize underneath it, and they step through it like you would step through ice, and you just step into lava. And that's like the biggest. Yeah. The other crazy part about there is that they don't have armed anything. Like none of the policemen have any guns. There's no, and I don't think there's been a murder there ever.
yeah, there's no. I didn't feel unsafe even at the latest hour of night. I never felt unsafe. Everything there felt very like happy and friendly the whole time.
The worst thing you can do there is like speed, and you get the frowny face on the signs. Did you see those?
Yes.
Like this. Did you get a lot of frowny faces?
No, because they warned us. Like the car rental place was like, "Yo, if you get
Every frowny face,
and it's
you're just getting
expensive.
dinged,
Yeah,
for
so-
all of these.
like nah," and they're like, but they told us like one's coming. I forget what it was, but they were like, "Yo, it's coming because you'll see
They
a
give you
sign."
like a precursor sign.
Nicest people in the world. Like,
Yeah, they're just like, please stop. They're
Yeah.
like, this makes me sad that you're doing this. It's really dangerous. Meanwhile, there's like people getting stabbed left and right over here, but they're
Yeah.
like, please slow down.
yeah, we're gonna give you a heads up in 5 miles. We're gonna clock you.
And if you don't, you're gonna get a frowny
Ticket.
face. And
Yep.
that's gonna be really sad for you.
Yeah, we did a lot of driving over there. We
You have to. You gotta drive so much.
yeah, to go see everything.
Anything. Yeah, it's all way out there. Did you do the ice caves?
We did do an ice cave.
That was cool as shit too.
And we might have saw the same ice cave because apparently we found out our tour guide was so funny. It was a little girl, and like everything you could say, she's like, no, it's not very nice actually. Actually, it's very bad for us. And like, but everything was just like, she found a way to make it like negative. She'd be like, oh, the ice cave is so beautiful. She's like, actually, it's not because this ice cave will not be here next year.
Because of global warming,
Yeah.
it's actually melting right
We're
now.
losing all of it.
Yeah.
Um,
They had said that it was like the best one they had seen for like the last 10 years when we were there. It was like the nicest one that they had, like the biggest like cave section and everything. But I thought going into it was going to be like a cave like of a mountain, and then there was going to be ice in it. I didn't realize like the cave is made like of solid ice. That blew my mind. It was like one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, so we might have went to the same one. They were
Mhm.
telling us that like, and they said like next year it's going to be a different. They have to find a new cave.
It just goes away, and then somebody's
Yeah.
walking around. They're like, hey.
I was dropping pins, for like because like they take you to like a secluded area. You know, I'm like, I'm gonna drop a pin here. So
Yeah.
next year I know I can come
Yeah.
here. And then they told us like, oh yeah, this ice cave will be gone. I was like,
Yeah, head down.
we did a lot of like our own. I'm not a planner like at all. So when I go somewhere, it's like I'm just shooting from the hip.
Yeah, I
Where we
love
going?
that other people plan. It's like I don't want to be the one that decides, but I'm stoked that somebody else has it. Like you have an itinerary, cool. Like
Yeah.
I'm down for whatever. So as long as we have like ample amounts of fuck off time as well as like doing stuff time. Like
Yeah.
I think it has to balance out where you're like, okay, we need a couple hours to just hang out in the Airbnb and not have to do anything, and then we can go hike a mountain and do all this crazy shit.
That we did not do. I will admit, I'm also the guy that's like 5 a.m. I'm good luck waking me up before 10 a.m. any other time of the year. But if I'm on vacation, boy, we wake up at 5, 6 a.m. Let's go.
Yeah.
And
vacations aren't really vacations when you do them right, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that's what me and my fiance always say. It's like, it's more like a trip than it is like a vacation. I imagine literally sitting there
Beach.
doing nothing. And we
Yep.
never do that when we travel. It's always, we got to go, we're going to stay in an igloo, and then we're going to see the Northern Lights, and then we're going to go ride snowmobiles on the mountain. And then we're also going to scuba dive in the tectonic plates and like do everything.
Did you do that? Did
Yeah.
you? Oh man, we
It was
wanted
sick.
to do that.
It was cold, but it was cool. The water was like delicious, like the actual like Icelandic water. And it is kind of bullshit because you're not actually touching the two tectonic plates. They tell
Yeah.
you that when you get there. They're like, this isn't actually, if you had the ability to stretch that far, it would be like insane. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like but it looks like it is.
Yeah, we went there and we saw it. We took
Yeah.
like pictures and we were there. And I was
Climbed on the fence on the other side and stood.
where you could touch both sides.
Yeah, it's all BS. So they're like, that's not actually it.
Yeah, the
Both
real
sides.
tectonic plate's like
It's
a
like
mile that way.
way over there. Yeah, tectonic plates are huge.
Yeah, but it was cool. I wish, like I said, there was 4 of us, so scheduling stuff wasn't always the easiest, and plus we kind of wanted to do what everyone, like we all had like a list of stuff we wanted to do. And then there was like things that I wanted to do, or maybe Ashley wanted to do, or Ramsey wanted to do. So we just tried to do as much of everything that kind of everyone had on their list as much as possible. I
Yeah.
think in one day we did the wrecked plane, we did Diamond Beach, we did a cave tour, we did Skogafoss, we did the beach, the scary beach
Oh,
that
yeah,
people
yeah.
die on a lot.
Yeah.
Me and Danny were those stupid tourists. We didn't realize how dangerous this beach was. And next thing we know, we're on these rocks and there's like waves splashing on us.
This is getting very close. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sketchy.
Every time they post a video about another tourist getting swept in the water, Ramsey or Ashley like sends it to the group chat. And I'm like, yeah, they're not athletes.
This could have been you.
If they were athletes, they would have outran that wave. Already? Oh man, that's crazy. We're already an hour in. Well, man, I don't want to. I can talk all day about traveling. Back to fighting. So this last fight, I know you took it coming off of ACL surgery. How did you feel in the fight? How did everything feel? I know it was your first loss as a pro. Walk me through that.
Yeah, I think like preparation wise and physically, I felt good going in there. I do think like looking back on it that like I was saying, my camp was a lot about like getting my knee to 100%. So I think some of the stuff that I wasn't able to really like hone in on in terms of strength and conditioning to like really be more well-rounded with it in terms of like my style is pretty explosive. It's a little bit more of like twitchy and like type 2 muscle fibers. So like I wasn't really training in that way because I was still like rehabbing the knee. So it was a lot of like slower movement and building up to it. So when I got into the fight, everything felt pretty solid. But I definitely think my like upper body conditioning and like my muscle endurance faded as I was going. And then also I think it had been really 18 months since my last fight. So, cause I had the grappling match with Phil in between, but I hadn't fought since March of the previous year. And to Ali's credit, he had been so crazy active, which is like, impressive in its own right. But I felt like going into it, I knew like what the dangers were. And I feel like our game planning was really, really well done for it. I definitely don't feel like I executed at the best level of my like ability. So when I watch it back, I definitely don't see that as like a good performance per se, but there are pieces of it that you can take from it that are going to be good and bad regardless. And like I was saying earlier, regardless of win or lose, you're always looking at it the same way afterwards, and you have to just kind of like cut it off and let it go. But I take pride in the idea that I was to the literal end of the fight. I was trying to finish it. So, and I felt like my cardio and my gas tank was solid. I was never really breathing heavy at any point during the fight. Even in between rounds, I was still nasal breathing, and I felt like my cardio was good, striking and everything was good. I got put into some weird positions, and I think there was like moments of where I should have been more proactive at getting up and not thinking like, maybe they're just going to stand this up because we're not really doing anything. And then the ref's saying like, hey, let's work, let's do something. And I'm like, maybe they're going to stand up. And then I'm just letting time kind of pass by. And I just think he was able to execute that game plan a little bit better. especially because he got the takedown so early in the second round that like he was able to hold a really strong position and threaten enough of an attack that I kind of was just stuck for a long period of time. But then the other good part that I take from it is knowing that like when I did like really try to get up, I did get up. There was just like I let too much time elapse in between there, and you only get so much. And I think like the mental aspect of like being like, holy shit, I'm actually back in a fight, and it kind of stops when you're in that position. So you like have time to think, and you're like, why am I thinking right now? Don't think right now. You're in bottom half. You should be getting up, not thinking I'm in a fight right now and it's second round. I'm in bottom half. Like this is the spot that we really didn't want to be in this fight. Like he's really strong in this position, you know. So I think just being able to lock into that a little bit more and be a little more sharp for this one, and then focusing a lot more on the strength and conditioning, making sure that that's like at a good point. But it was really nice to roll another camp back to back because I really haven't been able to do that consistently throughout my career. I've only really ever fought once or twice a year, whether it was like injuries or COVID or whatever changed it. So having the consistency where it doesn't feel like this next fight is this huge grandiose thing because it's been a year, I think will make it a lot, give me a lot better like mental fortitude and like game planning going into it, where I'm not thinking about it as like more than it needs to be, which is just go in there and get a win. And just stack those. Yeah.
And this one's pretty interesting because your opponent, I believe his last loss was also Ali.
Yeah.
So y'all both have a lot of footage to watch on each other, but I think y'all both tend to want to come and strike.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
so and is similar body types too.
Yeah, it's exciting. I haven't gotten like somebody who I'm pretty sure is going to like put the striking as their forefront. And I think from what I've watched from tape and stuff, he's very like freestyle and flowy in the way that he moves, which I kind of feel similar. So I think we have like similarities there where it's not necessarily trying to dictate putting a certain position, but kind of letting the fight happen and making like reactions and reads and stuff. So I'm excited to have that kind of a fight where I'm not just like, I gotta make sure that I focus on the small parts of like where the minutia of getting off the wall, or like just being like constantly having to worry about the defense of getting shot on and stuff like that. So, I mean, realistically, I think this is like the perfect fight for like a bounce back for me in terms of the opponent, the location, and like the timing for it. It gives me another fight in between without having to wait until like later next year. So I'm excited to get in this one. I think he's a game dude, so he definitely likes to scrab. I know he has some bare knuckle experience, so he's obviously tough as shit because I'm not doing that. So
I'm happy to hear that, by the way.
Yeah, no, I like my face the way it looks.
Man, so with Ali, he's actually fighting on the same card as you on this upcoming card.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I think, you know, you were saying something earlier about like kind of just being on the ground or being on the fence and being in these positions. And I've seen a lot of guys in the last year lose their fights because of that, right? Like what you just said. So it's funny that you bring that up. And they've all been higher level guys that, man, like they know how to get off the cage or they know how to get up.
It's like 80% of camp. You're doing these like specific spots, specific.
Some of these guys, I've watched them drill that for the whole, and then they get on the cage and they're just like sitting here in this position and they're like punching and they're like kneeing. And it's like,
you do stuff that you would never do. And you know, it's not like, I definitely threw punches from the ground and I watched them like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, why are you punching him from the ground? You know that you're not going to do anything doing this to his rib cage. Like you're just wasting time. So I definitely could see that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because, like, you know, I tell guys all the time, like 15 minutes sounds like a long time from the outside looking in. And even for me, like I've been in there for 15 minutes. I know what it feels. I know it goes like this.
Yeah.
But when I'm on the outside looking in, I'm like, oh yeah, they got time. They got time. Like, oh, second round's over. I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know, and then third round starts. And then, like you said, someone lands a takedown early in the round. You play with it for a minute or two. You don't get up right away. And then when you finally do get up, maybe they hold you against the cage for another minute. And it's like, yo, you've just lost the fight and you're not tired. If anything, you're aggravated. I've been in those fights where I got held and at the end of the fight, I'm just sitting there like, I wish I had 2 more rounds.
Yeah. And you're like, do I exhaust every last effort to try to manage to get this up? Or do I stay here and know that like my like effort is better served weight? Because usually a lot of times for my grappling style, it's very like countering and reactive and scrambly. So I'm a lot of times waiting for that movement to make a movement. I'm always like trying to plan the timing of it. So when someone isn't moving and they're just there holding it and you're just like, well, I can't really make anything happen. I can't make space. Like it's hard to make like enough space to make stuff happen from there. And he's a super strong dude. So like once he gets to those control points, it's hard to get out of. But like that's like just good strategizing. And you know, it wasn't like we were caught off guard by the fact that that was like the position that's like how he wanted to control the fight. So but I think the other aspects of the fight, other than when I was on the bottom, I was able to like get the better of in terms of like the striking exchanges and stuff like that. So when I come back and look at it, I'm like, okay, there's parts of this that look good enough to me, but I'm always like going to be my worst critic. So when I watch things back, I'm like, come on. And I think after having such a long layoff, you maybe put so much into it that you're over analyzing and overthinking. And then maybe that's when, you know, you've thought about this so much and then it's actually happening to you. And you kind of just have this, like, especially in the grappling scenario, like you just have a moment of like, what, this is actually happening now. I can't believe it's been a year and a half. And like all those thoughts, and you're like, this should not be what I'm thinking. I should be in, you know, flow state and not. In my first 2 pro fights, I felt like I was watching myself do it. And this was the first time where I didn't feel that like out of body experience that I usually get when I fight, where it's like I'm like looking down at myself like with the controls, as opposed to like being in there and being thinking a little bit too much.
Yeah. No, man, that's interesting. You know, I going into this, I remember thinking like, yo, this is the best. I knew you were coming off the knee surgery, but I remember seeing the physique, seeing the attitude, the mentality. I was like, man, this is the best. This is like the best Lucas I've ever seen. Like, this is really good. I thought the same about Ali. But Ali is like, man, this guy's, he always comes looking like he's always ripped. He's always, you know, in really good shape. But he had a little swagger about him this time that I normally don't see, but maybe because we don't normally do like press conferences and all that kind of stuff. But both of you guys, I just thought, and I said it, I think I even said it a couple of times, like I could see both of these guys making it one day, like regardless of who wins or loses. And I even hated to see y'all fight each other. I told Ali, yo, I didn't like him at all. Like when he first started fighting with us, I just didn't like him. I just didn't, you know, we had got into it about a couple different little things, nothing crazy, but like, I was like, man, I just don't care for this guy whatsoever. And then like, he won me over. Like he really won me over. And, when he took the fight with you, he originally was like, I don't know. Like, I know that's y'all's guy. And I was like, yeah, but when you fight, like, I have nothing to do with it. Like at that point, you know what I mean? And honestly, Ali, like, I didn't like you when I first, like, I just didn't. I remember I was in Vegas and I had a conversation with him, and I was like, you know, unfortunately, when you get to the point where you're at, Ali, where you have a couple wins, now you got to fight guys with us that also have a couple of wins, and you're going to fight OGs, guys that came up there as amateurs and all these other things, which is it's not a odd comment. I get that a lot about, oh, that's one of your guys. And it's like, yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, you got to get in the cage. You got to fight.
Yeah.
It don't matter.
And you always get like this. I actually talked about this with them after the fight in the back room, but like you get that vibe when you pass someone, you're like, I'm going to fight that guy at some point. And it just happens. And I think every fighter, whether if you make it to a certain level, you understand that like there's just an energy and there's nothing you can do about it. But I've definitely had that after, I think I was there for his Aaron Walker fight. And because I was one of Jackson's fights. So I was there and I went out and watched it. And I was like, okay, I like, for me, going off of if I'm coming off of 2 wins, I want to fight somebody where like the matchup made sense. And I think as of right now, as a pro, I haven't fought. This would be my first fight fighting somebody with a loss. So I fought like a debut or my debut, a 2-0 guy in my second fight, and a 3-0 guy in my third fight. But when I was watching it, I knew like, okay, there's danger there because he's obviously like super well conditioned. I think he's very well rounded, and he's not going to get tired. Like he's going to get tired, but he's going to power through. Like he doesn't like necessarily not look tired when you're like fighting him, but you know he's not going to stop. And like that can just be a huge pain to deal with as it is. But I kind of just knew after that, I'm like, eventually we're going to fight this guy. So when the contract came, it wasn't like, oh, this guy. It was like, oh, we figured at some point I'm going to fight that guy. And that's kind of how it was with the David Bell fight. Like I had seen him at a different fight. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to fight that guy at some point. But yeah, I think, and the same thing happened in the back room when I was talking to his coach, Billy Q. He was like, yeah, usually this is like a fight that you guys see in a Contender Series fight, like down the line. This is not one that you guys get when you're both this early into your career, you know. But realistically, I'm watching people's tape. I look at them honestly. I'm looking at their like what they do, and I just think at a certain point I should be ready, or at least willing to take on the guys that are trying to do the same thing I'm doing, because I know at a certain level it's going to stop being guys that are kind of pros, or like they're in and out, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or like, you know, you're journeyman guys, and you're going to have to fight some dudes that have the same exact hunger that you do. And I think that's where I felt the positive from this fight, the level up of like, okay, I can hang, like I can be in these fights. And this was the first time going like the full distance and being like, okay, I can obviously get through the 15. My cardio is good for there. Like I still have places that I need to improve upon, but I just felt like after that fight, I think in the middle of the fight, I realized like, oh, I can absolutely hang with any of these guys that look like they could be at the next level. And it was just a good confirmation of that. And then taking that into my training and using that when it comes to like cross training and getting the right looks so that I have it gives me a little bit of that extra motivation, that extra like confirmation of my skill set, you know? So I'm not like just trying to figure it out, especially if you don't fight for 18 months, like your brain can go everywhere. Like your mindset goes every which way, and every single thought from, am I ever going to fight again, to I'm going to be world champion off of this ACL, you know? So actually getting the experience to fight, now I feel way more comfortable back into like a normal flow of competition and being an athlete again.
Last question about that fight. That fight. What was going through your mind in that last 20 seconds when you landed that knee? I think it was like right before the 10-second clacker. You landed the knee, you dropped him. What was going through your mind in that moment?
In the moment leading up to it, it was there was a moment where he like ran in, and I tried to throw like a really shitty punch to try to catch him on the way, and it was so bad. And looking back at it, it's like the most like just whiffing at a punch, thinking that somebody's going to move in. But I knew that the knees were landing. They were doing it the whole fight. And the craziest part about that is that was probably the least powerful knee that I threw that landed, that dropped him. Like every other knee that I threw in the first round that I felt like landed flush and like really popped his head back, he just ate. And then the one that I like was so dead tired that I was just like the last bit I had of muscle, and it dropped him. And then I all of a sudden have this burst of energy, and I'm 100%, and I didn't even go through a fight. Like, cause you get that adrenaline, like, and then the bell goes off, and I'm like, never mind. And then, you know, you're just sitting there. I'm like, you're fucking good job, dude.
Yeah.
Like you just give, especially going through like a fight like that. You're like, I have to respect the skill set, and it's always like that with me. But yeah, that moment, there was definitely just like the highest high, the lowest low of like, I didn't really think at first, I wasn't sure if he kind of dropped and then just like sprung back up. But then like, as I'm like loading up to punch, I'm looking down, and he's just like looking at the sky. And I was just like, just 2 more punches probably.
Yeah.
But you know, that's why like the other aspects of it, like putting a game plan together for 3 rounds and having a good strategy and being well prepared is what helped him win that in the long run. So for me, it's just like an understanding of, this is where you have to level up. Like some of these guys, you're not going to get out of there when you hit them hard, because when I've been lucky enough in the last few fights where I've hit people, and like it's just they've started to wilt or change, and I've been able to take advantage and capitalize on it. But now it's like, okay, how do I adjust my game plan? How do I you know, if somebody's able to stack around against me, how do I come back and like win that final round? Because I really think after watching it back a few times, if you switched rounds 2 and 3 or even like 1 and 2, you could have scored that for me.
Yeah.
I think realistically, because
No, it was a close fight. It was a good fight.
The most damaging shot that is landed is the one at the end of the fight. The second round is obviously a 10-9 to him. I think the first round is a 10-9 to me. And then the third round, it's like a weird round because he gets me down probably halfway through, and there's just kind of a lot of scrambles and never really anything of substance that lands. And then there's like the big shot at the end. And I think if I would have had more time and that it wasn't like directly at the bell, I think aesthetically for judges, like you're not really taking in what the effect of how like damaging that might have been. But that's why you don't leave it up to those people. And the same thing with the ref. Like I can't just expect a ref to stand up a fight that is going the way that it's going. I have to like be better at just like taking advantage of that.
No, for sure. You know, that's a good thing to learn now in the regional scene and as an amateur, and all the lessons you've learned. You only really get these lessons if you take tough fights, and if you fight people that, like you said, are on your level, that also want to go where you want to go. Early on, I've said this before in previous podcasts, like we would build guys a little too much. We'd give them 3 or 4 fights that made sense, the most sense for them, meaning like maybe like 70-30 type fights. And then as we've come along in this game, we've learned like, no, it needs to be like 60-40 for either guy. And what I mean by that is like, if it stays standing, it's 60-40 for Lucas. If it goes to the ground, it's 60-40 for Ali.
Mhm.
So there's going to be those moments, like you said, where you lose a round and you have to come back to the next round and figure out how to win the next round, because that was 60-40 for him, but it can just as easily be 60-40 for you.
Mhm.
And you just don't get that if you're not fighting tough dudes. And if you, like you said, you hit David and he dropped. And, for me, what that tells me is like, whenever a guy kind of just like, he gets hit and he's like, oh shit. And like, he kind of quits in the moment. It's like, all right, well, we thought he had the dream of wanting to make it there, but it took one punch to change that.
Punched him in the mouth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I definitely see that with just in terms of like being ready to actually put those types of shots where you're going to actually do the damage to start the progression of finishing someone. But when that doesn't happen and you hit somebody flush and they just look at you and you're like, oh, well, this is going to take a lot more than just that, huh? And like, obviously I don't go into fights assuming I'm going to one punch knock people out, but yeah, those like type of learning lessons I think are huge. And that definitely felt like maybe it wasn't the right like timing for that fight in terms of like accepting that much of a monster off of a huge layoff. But I think the fact that I did take somebody that's at that level on that long of a layoff and had the success that I did, there is something to take from that where I'm like, okay, I have a lot more to show, and I have a lot of parts of my game that I don't think I've been able to fully like put out there. And that's always what I think about as a fighter. I'm like, I just want to be able to put the talent and skill set that I have in the gym and what I know I can do into a performance where I can see it and look at it and be like, that's the representation of me. And that's what I'm always like striving for, is to look back on a fight and be like, that's Lucas LaRue. That's like the version of me that I know is capable. And you don't always get the chance to in fights, because fights are fucking crazy. You just don't. Sometimes you do have those crazy shows, and sometimes you have to gut out like the worst 3-round warrior. And
No, for sure. You said something earlier. You said you see guys, you see them fight, you're around them, and you just know like, this is a guy I'm going to probably have to fight one day. Give me some guys, man. Who are guys that you think are guys you're going to be seeing one day in a fight? Is there anybody out there right now you're thinking about?
Off the top, nobody's coming directly to mind. There's like I feel like there's a couple of subsets within welterweight where there's like the guys in the groupings of like 2 to 5 fights, and then there's like 5+ fights, and like certain guys are, that's why I was kind of not shocked, but I was like, oh shit, that's a fight. When I saw the Jeremiah and Ali matched up, I'm like, that's a fight. Like, that's a great stylistic matchup. And having fought Ali and trained a little bit with Jeremiah, I'm like, I can see, like you were saying, like it's one of those fights where you're like, one guy does something really, really well, the other guy, like, who's going to be able to enact their game plan and like do it at the highest level. But there's nobody like in terms of names welterweight wise that I've been thinking of, because for this camp my process has been a little bit different in terms of just knowing like this is kind of like a bare bones camp where it's like I need to go in there, like have a great camp and just go in and get a win, and like that's the only focus. There is no necessity to like deal with the t-shirt stuff or all the other outside parts of fighting for this one, because like for me, I look at it as like, will the UFC call me at 3-1? Probably not, but I need the fights and the continuous like schedule, like to always have a fight every 3 or 4 months, so that I'm not ever getting out of that flow. Because now I finally feel like I've hit that stride where I'm like, actually, not only am I a pro, but I'm a consistent pro, where it's not like I had my debut and then waited a certain amount of time and then had my second fight, and then it was a long time in between. Now that I have some rhythm, I can start stacking fights together and taking shorter notice fights, because I'm going to be in shape for them, not like having a huge layoff and then having to rebuild my body. And that's why like physically I feel like I'm stronger now than I've ever been, because I actually got to bank a couple camps together where it wasn't like, all right, lay off, you're hurt for X amount of time and then come back and have to, because that's like the hardest part, I think, is trying to stay at a certain level physically to where you can jump into those camps, or you can, take opportunities when they're around, as opposed to like being hurt and, bum this or, like tight, whatever. You're always dealing with injuries as a fighter, but if you can minimize them to where you're active enough to get continuous fights and bank 4 or 5 in a calendar year, like that's, I think, the only way that you can really make a mark to where people are going to see it nowadays. So that's like the goal going forward. Yeah, being active is definitely important, and something that you did. I saw you a couple times during your ACL, whether it was at a fight camp or us grabbing coffee or getting some food.
And you didn't like gain a bunch of weight or get like super out. You didn't look like it, at least. You didn't look like you got super out of shape where it was like almost a detriment to your rehab. Were you staying in the gym and trying to be a little active on what you could do while you were dealing with the ACL? Because, like I said, your physique looked good, and then to fight as soon as you did after, it looked amazing to me. Like I said, the best Lucas LaRue I had saw.
Yeah, I definitely think the PT itself and the person that I was working with I was at Jewett Orthopedic, and like when I was doing my PT there at their center, it was like one of the like nicest like state of the art PT area, and she was really, really good. So I felt like she was helping like build it back as best as possible, but she knew that I was going to fight at a like within the time frame of where they're like they clear you at 9 months, but essentially I think what they told me was 12 months is like your best bet. Every after that, it's going to be better. But if you go 11 months, you're going from like a 5% chance of a re-injury to 10%. And if you go from 11 to 10, now it's a 15% chance of re-injury. And the more, and as a fighter, being like, okay, well, that means 9 months is the number, and then I'm going to start training again. But as soon as I could start moving more freely, it probably took at least the first like 8 to 10 weeks where you're mentally just like in the dumps, and then like physically actually being able to move without that much pain. But once I was able to start moving around more comfortably, I was doing like upper body workouts and stuff like that. But most of my stuff was like dealing with building up like my private lesson clientele and trying to work on the other stuff while going through this thing. I was still at the jungle at the time, so I was just working and I was literally doing private lessons from like a box, like holding pads, sitting down, and just figuring out how could I make it work. And then like learning that part of it, and like getting even better at understanding the actual game and like my breakdown of film and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think because I had the extra time, it ended up being good in the long run, because I think I got better in a lot of different areas, and like just the understanding of having to take it at a full professional level. So like getting a recovery sponsor where I can go in and do cold plunge and cryo and like red light therapy and all these other things, and like understanding, okay, this is how people are doing it at the if you want to be able to be, like I said, physically ready to fight, you have to do all these other recovery modalities too. So I think I used the time wisely to set myself up for success as best I could.
Yeah, man, it's so often these guys, especially the regional guys, they get it at the UFC because the PI does it for you, but not investing in their career, whether it be a cup that doesn't go in correctly because you didn't go buy a nice cup like a diamond cup, or there's a couple of them out there, or it's not getting a nice fitted mouthpiece, or it's you name it, not investing in themselves, or the rehab, or the nutritionist,
diet, weight cut, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not easy. Like, you have to make some money, but really you just need to make enough to invest in what you're doing and survive. And then still you don't know if you'll make it, but like to think you can make it to the top and not invest in yourself, not spend the time researching rehab, doing the right stuff, recovery, fight IQ, learning about the fight game, like to think you can just make it off of pure talent and like hard work. It's like, man, not in 2025. No. That's 2003. Yeah, you'd be a UFC champion. But like right now, the game's evolving way too fast. That's another thing too, is for you to come back the way you did. And like I said, it was a great fight, and you didn't look like you were behind. 18 months is a long time in MMA, especially. Stuff happens quick.
Yeah, I think just because of the karate combat fight, it didn't feel like it had been that long. But then somebody mentioned it to me like pretty close to the fight. We're like, it's really been like a year and a half. I'm like, oh shit, I guess it has been a year and a half instead of like a year. But yeah, and like having those fights go 90 seconds, a minute and a half, it's like, okay, I've got the early part of it, and I know the part of me that has the instinct to just go, and like once I see the finish there, like trying to go for it, because I know in the sport, like not only do you have to win, but you have to do it in a way that is impressive and emphatic. And I feel like it's my job to do that. I think I've said that to you before at coffee, but like my job is to, whenever these matchups get made, to make it seem like it's a mismatch, or to like be at a level where you can clearly see either my progression or that I'm a step ahead of like everybody else who I'm in the cage with. Because if I see myself as a guy who's at the UFC level or PFL or whatever the higher promotion is, I have to be able to show that every time I go out there, because otherwise, like, there's so much out there in terms of fighters and content. And there's guys that have more fights than me, and there's guys that have less fights than me. There's guys who have, 3 times the experience but haven't finished anybody, and then there's guys who have, fought people who are, have no wins or however they're making it. But if I'm putting out tape that shows me just beating guys and doing it in like the fashion that I have been able to, I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, it's super important, man. The UFC matchmakers don't care if you're 5-0, 6-7-0, 8-0, and you beat a bunch of scrubs and you're not finishing them and you're not entertaining. Like there's 100 other guys out there that are entertaining, that are finishing fights. So they want to see that you can finish fights on the regional level. They want to see that you're putting it out there and that you're going at it, you're going for it. So many guys, especially as you get to that 4, 5, 6 fights, they start getting a little nervous. Like, oh, I don't want to lose here. And it's like, no. That's where you press the gas, because
see where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you can't finish the guys here and you can't win dominant fashion and be entertaining at the regional level, why do the matchmakers in the UFC think you can do it for them?
Yeah, and why do you think you're gonna do it? Like, if you can't do that, then what do you think you're gonna do to these guys who are like finishing other elite level fighters? Like the guys that you're seeing in the UFC, or they're doing the same thing, but at a totally different level. If you can't do it with guys that have 3 or less pro fights, it's not looking good in that department. But I think the silver lining of like losing the O is I do feel like that pressure is kind of off in a way, because like going on a really good streak and having that, and then having like the amazing start and then have such a long layoff, and like the expectation of what that looks like when you come back, losing that a little bit, I think has given me a little bit more freedom of like, no, I'm just going to go out there and like just fight for the sake of like, obviously like the win, but it's not like I'm protecting this O that is like so precious to me that I have to make sure that I never lose it. Cause there's a lot of pressure that you can put yourself under if you just think that way. And I think I did for a little bit, and there's like a little bit of ego death that has to happen where you're like, okay, well, we still have work to do. And like, that's fighting. That's just MMA. It's been that way. I feel like I've strategically gotten these like little, benchmark points of like, okay, this is where you have to change. I remember when I was really early on, maybe 1 or 2 years in, I was going and traveling to Jersey and training with Mickey Gall and Rex Harris and a couple other guys, Carl Roberson, guys who were in the UFC, and they were just fucking me up, like just beating the shit out of me. And leaving there and being like, well, that's the level. That's where we got to get to. And he was a black belt at the time, and I just remember like going into work at the gym I worked at and having like my eyes just busted up and being like, what are you doing? Like, you have to teach a kick, you have to teach like a fitness class, like they're gonna look like you got beat up. And I'm like, I did get beat up, and it was not fun. But those, like, I feel like if you're doing the right things, you're gonna experience those like strategically as you're aging as a fighter, as you're growing and hitting those milestones, even going in to Fusion and getting like rounds with guys like Phil, and like you're just like, okay, that's the level now. Like, that's a guy who's top 20 in the world. Like, he's like one of those guys. That's like, but it shows you that like it's farther away, but it's not as far as you think if you've been putting the work in like over that time.
Yeah, and you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. I mean, you don't find out about this. You don't find that growth. You don't feel any of this if you're fighting nothing but 0-3s, 1-4s. If you're only training with guys you can beat up, I mean, you never find that. And then what happens is you find out maybe you do get to 7, 8-0, and then you find out in front of a national audience that like, oh, I don't have that dog in me.
Yeah, and it's bad.
Or maybe you did have the dog in you and it's been tamed because you're so used to going in there and finishing guys in the first round and never being challenged. You're so used to being the big dog in the gym or wherever you're at. So it's awesome that you've done that, man. Like I said, I think you're doing it right, and I do think you have a bright future ahead of you. I can't wait to see November 8th and see what happens with Ricky. I'm really excited for that fight. As we start closing the podcast out, we always ask a few like fun questions, maybe watch a video or two. My first question for you: who's your favorite training partner? There can only be one.
I knew you were gonna do that. Well, I'm wearing his shirt right now, so I'm gonna rock with Jackson. Miles is the OG though. He's like me and Miles have punched each other in the face more than anybody than I've ever trained with, pretty much. So he's all like, if I have to go with like the OG, he's been there since day one for Miles. But Jackson's great because I feel like we work so well together because I feel like he's as how do I put this? in the grappling sense, he's that much better than me than I am in the striking sense. So we even each other out on those ways, and we elevate each other whenever we're training. So like whatever I can do to improve his striking, he does to help me improve my wrestling. And that's how we've just built each other up. And I feel like both of us have shown like huge strides in both, like Jackson showing that he's putting the hands together, and then me being able to control things with the wrestling. So it's definitely those two. Those are the homies. We beat the shit out of each other.
And they're both much larger than you.
Yeah, I don't. That's why in the grapplings, usually when I get in there and I finally get a hold of like welterweights, I'm like, this is so refreshing because these guys are not 245 pounds. And Miles is like, he might be 300. I don't know. Miles is made of oak, and he is as solid. He's like the heaviest person in the world, and he's so freaking strong. So
he's taking that Black Santa moniker to heart.
Yeah. And Jackson is just like, so like, you just don't expect a big guy to move the way that he does. And it's the same stuff that for the fans watching have seen him do to people in the cage. Like when he's doing this with like black belts, and you're just seeing him being able to do these things, and you're like, he's just it's super, super impressive. And like I said, now that he's putting like the hands together, like good luck regional heavyweights, because it's not going to be fun if you end up fighting him. So
and he's, heavyweights are in such a good position because like you get to 4-0.
That's what I told him.
5-0, even 5-1, 6-2. Like it doesn't matter. Like you just need a couple of impressive finishes.
He's in like the top 20% of fitness for heavyweights right now. And like so many of those, and now especially coming off of this past weekend, you're like, heavyweight they need somebody to come and save it. I feel like it's cursed right now. The whole division is just like a shit show.
John Jones has a way of doing that to divisions, man. I don't know what it is, but
I saw the one stat. I don't think there's been an undisputed heavyweight champ in like 4 years, like 3 or 4 years. It's never been undisputed because it keeps getting like changed of hands and stuff.
And
like
awkwardly too. Not even like
not a good one. It's like, oh, we're stripping Francis because he went to PFL, or we're doing, and then we're stripping John, and then we're have to give an interim when there's an undisputed, and have an interim title and an undisputed title at the same time. It's crazy.
Another fun question. So Jackson's your favorite training partner, or Miles? Either one. You got to either watch them get knocked out or you get knocked out. Which one are you picking?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll watch myself get knocked out. No, watching your teammates lose is so much worse. It's so much worse, dude. But watching them win is also the greatest feeling of all time. So I've told the story before, but Jackson's like second or third Amy fight, the one where he did like the feint
cross
left and knocked him out.
Yes.
We literally in the back room, I was like, bro, just feint, see what he moves, and then just light him up. And he went out and did it right in front of me. In that video, you see me just freaking the fuck, because I literally felt like I was controlling a controller. I was like, we literally, like 5 seconds ago, we're talking about that exact setup, and then he used it. That's top tier, one of the best moments I've ever had. Just like for watching your teammates be able to go out and do. Another really memorable one is Josh Barron's at Guilt, his debut, because like another person that you're like, you've been waiting so long for them to fight. They've been going through camps. This person pulls out, there's an injury, all this stuff happens, and then to see them do it, and then see them do it in that fashion, and you're just like, you could not, there's no word for that. It's like a top tier memory for me is watching Josh, because he looked up at me at Guilt, and I was in the VIP, and I was just like, what just happened? So yeah, I would definitely rather myself get knocked out.
Okay.
But
all right, that's interesting. Most guys say they'd rather, I mean, we've asked that question, and it'd be like, you or your dad, and they're like, my dad. Oh my God, dog. Not even think about it. You just said your dad that quick.
Yeah, right. Just, what's you got dad problems, bro?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think because especially with like Miles and Jackson, like with Jackson particularly, I'm like, I would bet the house that he's going to do it, because I know, like, from what I've seen in terms of like skill set and like just mindset and all those things, like I want to see the homies like succeed. Same thing with like Seven, Edgar, all the guys that I get to watch. I was watching the pay-per-view from my dad's house because I couldn't make it to the fights, but like I'm so much more nervous like watching them fight, where I'm not Seven because I knew he was going to do that. But some of the guys, sometimes you're watching them, you're like, these are tough fights. Like even Harvey's fight, like I'm like, that's the kids he's fighting is good. Like you get those moments where you're like, okay, let's see how this goes. But it's always like when I'm fighting, I'm like the most calm. It's kind of like a weird, but I'm always in the back room, just kind of like ready to go, not too crazy. I don't really get too high or low. But if somebody that I don't get to help, I can't do anything about it. So like at least when I'm in there, I have something to do about what happens. But if they're walking in there, I'm like, I just have to let them like just hope that they, did the right things to get the win. But it's definitely harder to watch your teammates go in and do it because you're like, okay, just get the win, whatever you have to do.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's really hard to watch your friends and family fight. It's just like, to me, I would rather fight, and I hate fight. Honestly, the nerves and everything. Like, I love camp. I love every bit of the process except for dieting and actually the fight week. Fighting, I love fighting, but like the fight week where I'm not training hard and I'm kind of like just focusing on losing weight, and all I can do is think about the fight.
I'm not doing enough, but I'm not supposed to be doing anything, but I'm recovering, but I'm not doing anything. It's such a weird. Yeah, the moment that you weigh in that night, that stretch of time is the best because you're getting like just the endorphins of putting like food and stuff back in your body. Like that first hour after the first sip of your shake or whatever you're doing is like chef's kiss, the greatest feeling, but everything before that is awful. Like leading up
horrible.
to that moment.
For me, it's it's not until I hit my cup. Like literally, I feel endorphins. I love it. I'm rehydrating. I'm eating. But in the back, when everyone's like wanting to talk to you, like, how you feeling? You ready?
Yeah,
that knock them out.
The worst.
I just go and pretend like I'm asleep. I'm not even really sleeping. I literally will go lay down and just like, oh yeah, just no one will talk to me if I just pretend like I'm asleep.
Yeah,
I hear everyone talking around me.
I always want my back room to feel as normal as possible. Like I don't want it to feel like it's this crazy thing that we're about to do. Like I like it to feel like this is like a Friday night pro class that I would be going and sparring anyway. I would spar 10 5-minute rounds. I'm about to go do 3 5s and just kind of putting it into those types of terms, and then locking into like when my walkout song comes on, just being like, okay, now it's started, and then just kind of riding the wave. Because the way I've thought about it is, you know, if you try to like push against all of that and the fear and all, you're trying to like do whatever, be anxious and move around. I remember one of my pro fights, I could tell that my opponent was like really nervous by the way he would just not stop moving. Like he, throughout the weigh-ins the next day, he just always up and moving around. I'm like, we're not going to fight for another like 36 hours. You got to chill, and you only have so much energy that you can exert through a weekend, through a day. Like people don't take that.
Your nervous system. Yeah, you're frying it.
They don't take that into consideration. And then if you have teammates on the card and you're back there and you're getting the highs and lows of their fights, somebody comes back, they're stoked. Somebody comes back and they're in tears, and you're like, you're getting all of that. That's why I try it nowadays. I'm like, I used to be getting there like super early. Now I'm like, I need to get there whenever fighters have to report, because I just got to protect my energy and make sure I'm not like sapping all of that throughout the day, because we have 5-6 guys on a card and you're going through that up and down and up and down. So I give props to Alec and Mike and our coaches, because sometimes they're just wearing that. Like they're, for as much as it affects me, for them, they're just like getting the full brunt of
and they
that.
have to come back and pretend like it didn't phase them.
All right, and we're gonna hit pads now, and
they watch their student get knocked out, and it's like, all right.
Anyway, that's what, even like I remember the video back in the day of Alec like fighting and then coming back around and do it. Like that's
impressive.
He's just a dog when it comes to that. Shout out to Alec.
For sure, man. I love working with Alec. We got some videos we're gonna play. We got a couple of what do we got here? Let's see what we got.
It's gnarly.
I remember I was watching this in slow motion.
Oh my gosh. It's worse on the second pump. Like he re-pumps his hand and it goes like another whole digit in. Like the initial one, I was like, oh, really? That's not that bad. And then it's just like, it's like all the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, okay, that's not the worst, but it's not good. And then he's like, JK, we're going.
It's like, yeah, that's bad. Oh, it's gonna stop. Is he gonna stop? Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, you can't tell me anything other than like that's okay to call that fight. Like he should absolutely have not fought after that.
For sure. And like, you know, I'm not gonna even lie. Like I got a lot of love and respect for Dana. I know that what I'm doing in my life and my whole life work has been, I got to attribute a big part of it to Dana, because he's built the sport. He's got it to where it is. That has allowed me to start a promotion and all these things. I don't take that for granted, but I hate the way he attacks fighters at press conferences and says things. And I know he's mad and he's irritated. It was his heavyweight main event. I know he's not happy, but it's like, yo, put your feet in Aspinall's shoes for a moment and just know what he's going through and how he's not happy that he had to stop in that moment. But I hate that he I think he said like, oh, he was getting beat up and then he got poked and he quit or he stopped.
Yeah, he like hinted to it, and it's like a very subtle dig where it's like, Gon was looking really good, and it's like now you're putting that on to Acid. It's kind of happened with Kevin too. Kevin Holland the week before, that was crazy too. You're like, the guys are coming in. It's like a different executive coming in and being like, take the fight. You need to fight right now. And he's like, give you 50 grand, just fucking fight. And it seems like that's how the conversation, it wasn't like, are you okay to fight? Because he barely even said anything.
Yep.
And then with this one, it was kind of like the same thing. But I remember from Josh's fight about the whole concept of not saying anything like to a ref to like potentially change the way that like they call something or they call it. You don't say like I can't see, or you don't say I'm hurt or whatever. You just, so when both of them were just not talking, I'm like, are they just gonna shut up for 5 minutes and then just milk it and see? But yeah, the eye pokes are seeming to get almost worse nowadays, it seems like, and they switched from those like curved gloves back to them, and then there's more
supposed to help.
Yeah,
But, I mean, you talking about a heavyweight. I don't care how curved the glove is. If I want my hand to be open, it's going to be open. I can, and I think there should be bigger penalties for stuff like eye pokes, missing weight. Like, there's only so many rounds in a fight.
Yeah.
And, I've watched many times cage side, regional, UFC, you name it, where I know a nut shot changed the outcome of a fight.
100%.
I know an eye poke changed the outcome of a fight. And on Tapology, there is no asterisk next to a loss that says, oh, but he got poked in the eye really
took
bad.
a terrible groin shot or something like that. And
There's
you're
none of that.
always, and you're never looked at as the good guy for taking the way out either. Like people prided, what was it, Anthony Smith for his John Jones fight where he like got illegally hit, and you're like, yeah, but he's not supposed to do that. And I do think you're right. I think they should start just taking points more like quickly. Like why just don't do it? Like,
and I think coaches should be able to talk to their athlete in these moments. In what sport? I mean, you can't name a sport where an athlete gets injured and the coaches can't talk to them. What?
Yeah, it's like the medical people come in, and then the coaches have to like the ability to do that. Yeah,
who knows that fighter better than the coach?
Yeah,
and can talk to him. I cornered Stephen Koslow in his UFC debut. He got illegally kneed. Bad. It was bad. He was not there. Fight was going great. It was not it was a great back and forth fight. He was winning. He wasn't dominating. He wasn't smashing the guy, but it was a great fight. And after that knee, man, he just wasn't the same. And he was rocked. I mean, he was rocked. He honestly, he should have said, no, I'm not fighting. But what fighter? We're fighters, right? Like I always say, fighters are wheelbarrows, which is coaches going to pick them up and take them wherever they need to go. But every fighter needs a good coach. In that moment, would I have loved to be able to talk to Costo, look him in the eyes and see, is he still here? Like, yo, is he should he continue this fight or
can
no?
you make a decision to throw a towel in when it actually like makes it, or like take that second for that? But then that like no matter how severe it is, even like what was it, Dumas who had that happen where he had to go to the hospital. He had like a really bad one, right? They were talking shit about that one too, and it's like you're talking about the toughest individuals outside of like our armed services in the planet. These guys that are willing to do anything, guys who grew up on dirt floors who are trying to make it, and you're saying that they're going to try to find a way out of something that they've been striving to, like, if anything, that moment, that 25 minutes is what we do it for. So like, why would you ever want to take anything from that? Like nobody's ever going to want to find their way out of a fight that they just spent all of that time, all of that camp for, just to like find a way out. I just think it's ridiculous, but it should be immediate point deduction. Same thing with low blows. Like, how many times do you see 2 or 3 in a fight and you're like, no points are taken?
Yep.
Like, can we not just like, or change the scoring system to where a 10-9 or a 10-8 is more common, like some sort of adjustments to that. But yeah, I mean, I got double whammied in the last one. I didn't even notice until you guys posted that. I literally didn't know I got eye poked until you posted that video.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I remember getting hit in the cup, but I did not remember getting eye poked at the same time.
Well, it's kind of like your body picks which pain is worse.
Yeah.
In the moment.
It just went to there. And then I was like, okay, wait, I'm still fighting. Don't worry about that.
What I always say, man, and this goes for fighters in general, man. If you find yourself on the bad end of a foul, and that the only people you need to worry about is you and your family. That's it. It doesn't matter. The fans don't matter. I'll even go as far as to say, like, your coaches don't matter. What matters the most is what you are in that. You're the one in the cage. You're the man in the arena. And I know guys continue because they're worried about the fans booing. They're worried about what people are going to say on social media, and it's like, man, fuck all that. Like, it's your livelihood, it's your life. Don't let anyone outside of your family shouldn't even come to your mind in those moments. And I know I've watched it so many times, so have you, where fighters continue a fight and they shouldn't have.
Yeah. And then they're also thinking like, well, do I want to just get my show?
I want to get paid.
Do I not want the opportunity to make this where I could win and get my win bonus? Or maybe that's a fight of the night. Like, I'll get an extra 50K or
Mhm.
something. So maybe if guys were fighting, with guarantees of like, this is what you're going to make no matter what, like, I don't think they end up fighting less hard or less, it just doesn't make any sense.
Boxing's got that part right. Boxing pays flat,
Guarantees.
and they might get points on pay-per-view or something. But I agree with you on that. I don't think that paycheck should be weighing in, but they do, because like you said, if you're getting 250 to win or 500,000, it's like that's
even if I'm compromised, if I have a 10% chance of pulling this out, and every fighter thinks they have the chance to pull it out, no matter how down bad they are, they can be down 4-0, and everybody's got the Leon kick in their brain and their heart. They think they can get there, and sometimes they can. That's the craziest part.
Yeah. Speaking of kicks, I think this is what we got lined up over here, huh? A nasty
boy.
kick on this next
Anytime
video.
people are fighting in like large surfaces, I'm like, this is gonna go bad. Jesus.
Oh, is that real?
Yeah, it's training.
That wasn't a oh man.
Are they sparring? Or are they? I mean, obviously they're sparring, but like, are they like in a?
Oh, I'm going to my car and I'm getting the blicky right after that. Literally, you wake me up, you show me that video, I'm in my trunk.
And like, the scene is throwing me off too. Like, are they playing futsal and then they're like, "Yo, you want to throw the gloves on in between games and we can fuck each other up?" Or are they?
Literally, there's nothing before that. Like, they started filming and he was like, huh.
There's no coaches anywhere. There's no there's nobody else practicing MMA from what it looks like. They look like they're the only two that are doing any MMA.
They went from a game of indoor soccer to
like,
let's now try to kick each other in the head. 100%. I'm sorry if you do that to me in training. No shins. I'm going to my car. You better run. You better hope I don't see you, because I'm getting my gun. I don't care. Or a bat. I'm taking your leg out.
100%. Especially if it's in a sparring sense. Like, one of the best strikers that I ever got to spar with actually was I think I mentioned before, Carl Roberson. He was like a glory kickboxer, and I remember him like throwing a kick, stopping it at my ear, going up around, and then like following through. Like, he question marked over my head, and I was like, dude, next time you knock me out, because like that was so much more disrespectful than like actually kicking me in the face. Like, he was just like, "Oh, that's okay, you're new, so I'll just go, I'll not kick you in the head." And I was like, "Bro, don't do that. Kick me in the head. That's so much more disrespectful."
No, it's nice to have sparring partners that actually respect you and care about you and want to see you be successful, and understand that they don't need to knock you out in training in order to be successful. And that's not really even a measure of success of what you can do in the training room.
That's all ego.
I see that a lot. I also have a lot of great training partners that, know how to pull stuff and know how to train the right way. But there's always those couple of guys. Every gym I've ever been to, there's always
and it's
couple
never
of
like
guys.
a power, it's an intensity. It's like the way it comes at
The
you. It's
intent.
not how hard it hits you, it's the intent. And you can feel when someone's trying to fuck you up. Like, if you've been punched in the face enough, you know what feels like a hit that they're trying to pull off the end of it, or one that they're trying to like follow through on,
For sure. This is probably my favorite recent video. It's went viral. It's the cameraman video. This is why safety is number one.
Combat night staff nightmare.
Oh,
that's OSHA right there, Mitchell. That's OSHA right on you immediately.
100%. Jackson Stanford actually, in the fight where he fought for the belt the first time, I believe Reina had a moment where he pushed what was the guy's name? Edmund. He like ran Edmund to the cage at Reina's cage post, and she's like,
that's like 500 pounds just flying at you. It's like a cow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And while the cages are sturdy, they do have some wiggle room.
Yeah, they got to give a little bit.
They have to. And I know Reina looked like she feared for her life. She might have been one of the ones that didn't want to wear the harness for a while, but I think so the harnesses were made for her.
Now I see everybody, and everybody's just like hanging off of them. Like, I don't want to stand right now, so I'm just gonna be lazy and just hang against this thing. It's like it goes from like, oh, we don't really want to use them, to like, these are sick.
They're hammocks.
Them. Yeah, they're literally it's a one-person hammock. Hanging yourself.
No, I got now. See, now you put me on. I got some reels to make of the camera guys in the stands,
sitting there
relaxing. Was that the last video we had, Reina? All right, man. Well, Lucas, let people know. You mentioned a rehab place earlier.
Mhm.
Plug your sponsors. Let them know where to find them at.
Yeah, you can go trxn.fit. That's the place right now that I'm actually operating out of with like private lessons and stuff as well. So if you want to contact them to come in for all of your like recovery stuff, or if you want to get into with me doing some like private lessons or small group stuff, let me know. But they are over on Forsyth Commerce Boulevard. They do pretty much everything with like hyperbaric chamber, chiropractic, acupuncture, dry needling, all that kind of stuff, and they're great. So hit them up, and then shout out to my gym, the Jungle, the OGs, everybody there, the whole fight team, and shout out to my fiance at home who's probably watching this from Tampa. And yeah, thanks for having me on, bro.
Cool. Where can they find you on IG?
At Lucas LaRue _. Yep, that's me on.
One other thing, Miles asked what's on the menu for the wedding.
We have to do the tasting still, but I will keep Miles posted. I know he's going to be there. He's stoked about this. He's not going to be there for the tasting, but if there's going to be some solid food, I'm stoked for that.
Miles, I don't know if you heard earlier in the podcast about you maybe leaning into Black Santa a little too much. You don't need to worry about tastings. He said he has a special menu for you. It is going to be a vegan meal with quinoa,
carrots, and celery. Yeah, you're going to go down an octave in your announcing, going up weight classes.
Have you got any other questions? Was that it? Just Miles?
There's probably some tomfoolery in there, I'm sure.
Guys, while Ramsey's looking, Lucas mentioned that he does personal training for a living. That's how he provides, and that's how he stays active and fighting, and pays for everything. So, guys, I always say that before you go into 24-hour fitness, go find Lucas is a true professional. So he's a professional athlete. He's also literally came back from a crazy knee rehab himself, and is always in great shape. So support a guy like Lucas, support an athlete, anyone who's running a business, whether it's a personal trainer, whether it's a car washing business, whether it's a waiter, go and get food at their restaurant. When you need a training session, hit up Lucas. I promise you will not be disappointed. But this is how these guys eat. This is how these guys make it in the real world. So if you can support a fighter in any way, please get out there and support them. That's really it, man. Hope everyone has a great day. Lucas, it was a pleasure talking with you. I honestly could have sat here and talked to you for 5 hours.
We need a travel pod. We just need to set a little subsection just for travel. We could have gone another couple hours off of that one.
For sure, man. I especially with where you've been going, I keep an eye on that, and I'm just like, man, like that was my, as a fighter, when I was coming up, that was my thing. I want to fight and I want to travel the world. So, or if I can, I want to do both.
Yeah, that's best. That was always best. That's always like the best possible scenario, is to get paid to do the fighting and the traveling. So hopefully we get there in a little bit.
You will. I have no doubt, man. That's it, guys.